Welcome to Mind Games, Mastering Your Mental Landscape, an audiobook brought to you by Mindful Literary. In this journey, we'll dive deep into the extraordinary power of your mind, uncovering how your thoughts, beliefs, and emotions shape your reality. Have you ever wondered why certain mental barriers hold you back or how you can harness the hidden potential within your subconscious? This audiobook will provide you with the insights and tools to transform your inner world, helping you navigate the complexities of your mind and achieve a more empowered, balanced, and fulfilled life. As we embark on this exploration together, you'll learn to recognize and shift thought patterns, align your values with your actions, and master the art of positive self-talk. From managing stress and overcoming mental blocks to cultivating mindfulness and harnessing the power of visualization, each chapter offers practical strategies and exercises designed to enhance your mental resilience and unlock your true potential. So, get comfortable, open your mind, and prepare to embark on a transformative journey through the landscape of your thoughts and emotions. Let's begin this adventure towards mastering your mental landscape and discovering the limitless possibilities within. Chapter 1: Introduction to Mind Games. Understanding the power of your mind. One sunny afternoon, I found myself sitting on a park bench, watching children play. I remembered a time when my belief in my own limitations held me back. You see, I had always thought I wasn't good enough to pursue my dreams. These thoughts weren't just fleeting, they were deeply rooted in my consciousness. It wasn't until a mentor challenged these beliefs that I began to see the real power of my mind. Our minds are extraordinary. They act like sponges, absorbing experiences and perceptions, and then shaping our reality based on them. Scientific research supports this, particularly studies in the field of neuroplasticity. Our brains are not fixed, they're capable of changing, adapting, creating new neural pathways. This means that our thoughts are more powerful than we often give them credit for. I remember reading about Dr. Carol Dweck, a renowned psychologist. Her research on the growth mindset versus a fixed mindset opened my eyes. People with a growth mindset believe that their abilities can be developed through dedication and hard work. Conversely, those with a fixed mindset believe their abilities are innate and unchangeable. This fundamental belief shapes how we approach challenges, setbacks, and even successes. To put this into perspective, consider a personal story. Years ago, I had a friend who struggled with public speaking. He believed he was inherently bad at it, a classic fixed mindset. One day, he decided to challenge this belief. He began practicing in front of a mirror, recording himself, and seeking feedback. With time, not only did he improve, but he became a sought-after speaker. His transformation was a testament to the power of changing one's mindset. How do we harness this power in our own lives? First, recognize that your thoughts influence your reality. Begin by becoming aware of the negative or limiting beliefs that you hold. Write them down. Then, reframe these statements into positive affirmations. For example, if you believe I'm not talented enough, change it to I am constantly improving my skills. Take actionable steps towards your goals, no matter how small they may seem. Consistency is key. Just like physical exercise strengthens muscles, mental exercises can strengthen positive neural pathways. Meditation, visualization, and even simple gratitude practices can make a world of difference. Think about the perceptions you hold, not just about yourself, but about the world. Are they serving you, or are they limiting you? Challenge them. Push beyond your comfort zone. Your mind is an incredibly powerful tool, capable of shaping your reality in profound ways. As the sun began to set that day in the park, I realized just how true this is. The power to shape our destiny lies within our minds, waiting to be unleashed. So, what will you choose to believe? The impact of mindset on everyday life. It was a crisp morning when I first realized the profound impact of mindset on everyday interactions. I was rushing to catch the subway, coffee in one hand, briefcase in the other, when I noticed a stranger struggling to juggle a map and a suitcase. My first instinct, I'll admit, was to walk past. No time, I told myself. But then I hesitated. I remembered reading about fixed and growth mindsets just the night before. A growth mindset encourages us to see challenges as opportunities for growth. With that in mind, I stopped, took a deep breath, and offered to help. The gratitude on the stranger's face warmed me against the chilly air, sparking a revelation. Our mindsets genuinely shape our daily experiences. Carol Dweck's research on fixed versus growth mindsets often comes to mind. In a fixed mindset, people believe their abilities and intelligence are static traits. They're either good at something or they're not. This belief can create a sense of urgency to prove oneself continually. On the other hand, a growth mindset embraces the potential for development. Failures are seen not as evidence of unworthiness, but as springboards for improvement. Realizing which mindset I was operating from in various situations became a game changer. Take the workplace, for instance. In my early career, I often found myself dreading feedback sessions. Any critique felt like a judgment on my inherent abilities. If a project didn't go as planned, I perceived it as a permanent stain on my competence. But after delving into the concept of a growth mindset, things changed. During meetings, I began to view feedback as a tool for growth rather than an indictment of my skills. I started asking questions, seeking advice, and capitalizing on every opportunity to learn. The shift was subtle but powerful. My anxiety diminished, and my performance soared. Home life, too, was transformed. With my children, I consciously praised their efforts rather than their inherent talents. "You worked so hard on that puzzle." Replaced "you're so smart." Slowly, I saw them take on more challenges without fear of failure. It was not just about what they achieved, but how they approached problems, and it all stemmed from an altered mindset. The journey towards embracing a growth mindset is ongoing, and it's filled with introspection and practice. There's no magic switch. There are days when reverting to a fixed mindset feels easier, especially during moments of high stress or disappointment. But it's in those very moments that choosing a growth perspective offers the most significant rewards. It turns obstacles into pathways, fear into curiosity, and frustration into determination. So, how can you shift your perspective? Start small. When faced with a challenge, ask yourself, what can I learn from this? Celebrate efforts, no matter the outcome. Surround yourself with people who embody the growth mindset. Their attitudes are contagious. And remember, this is not just about major life decisions. It's about the minor, everyday choices that accumulate into a fulfilling and successful life. As I reflect on that morning at the subway, I am reminded of the invaluable lesson it imparted. Helping the stranger may have delayed my commute by a few minutes, but the impact on my mindset was lasting. It was a small act, yet it symbolized the larger shift happening within me, an awakening to the boundless potential that a growth mindset can unlock, not just in extraordinary circumstances, but in the seemingly mundane moments of everyday life. Breaking down mental barriers. I remember the first time I realized I had been constructing invisible walls around myself. It was during a casual conversation with a colleague who pointed out how often I used the word can't. It wasn't that I couldn't do those things, it was that I felt I couldn't, and in that subtle distinction lay my mental barriers. The barriers weren't physical, they were shaped by years of self-doubt and fear of failure. Recognizing these was my first step towards dismantling them. One practical example is the story of a friend who had a deep passion for painting, but always believed she wasn't good enough to pursue it professionally. She had built a fortress of what-ifs and I'm not good enough around herself. After much insistence, she attended a local art exhibition. Seeing the varying styles and levels of expertise helped her realize that art was subjective, and got her thinking, if they can do it, why can't I? Soon, she began showcasing her work, and guess what? Her paintings started selling. It was a clear demonstration of how dismantling those mental walls can open up avenues you never thought existed. So how do you go about tearing down these barriers? Here are some techniques that worked for me and many others I know. Self-awareness. Start by recognizing the mental barriers you have. Are you underestimating your abilities? Are you avoiding challenges because you fear failure? Identifying your invisible walls is half the battle won. Challenge your thoughts. Whenever a limiting thought crosses your mind, question its validity. Ask yourself, is there any real evidence to support this belief? Often, you'll find that these thoughts are baseless and can be countered with rational thinking. For instance, instead of thinking, I'll never be able to run a marathon, reframe your thought to, I can start training step by step and see how far I get. Setting small goals. Dividing a seemingly insurmountable task into smaller, more manageable parts can reduce the intimidation factor. When I wanted to write my first novel, the idea of completing an entire book was terrifying. I broke it down to writing one chapter, then one page, and finally one paragraph at a time. The process became less daunting and more achievable. Surround yourself with positivity. Seek out people who uplift you, challenge you, and believe in your potential. Their positive influence can drastically change your mindset. There were times when it was the encouragement from friends that kept me going, especially when self-doubt was at its peak. Remember, these barriers did not form overnight, so breaking them down will also take time. Celebrate small victories along the way. Every time you push past a mental block, no matter how minor, acknowledge it. These little celebrations act as reinforcements, propelling you further on your journey to unlock your full potential. As I sit here writing this, I still battle with mental barriers. The difference now is that I recognize them for what they are: fleeting thoughts, ephemeral and conquerable. They are not part of my identity unless I make them so. And you, dear reader, have the power to change your narrative too. Begin today by questioning one self-imposed limitation, and watch as the walls begin to crumble. Chapter 2. Exploring your inner landscape. Recognizing your thought patterns. It's astounding how much of our lives are dictated by the thoughts we barely take the time to notice. I remember, not so long ago, standing in front of the mirror, fixated on a seemingly innocuous thought: you'll never be good enough. This thought had become so entrenched in my daily routine that it barely registered as a conscious consideration. Yet, it dripped poison into every choice, every opportunity, and every challenge I faced. My journey to recognize and understand these thought patterns wasn't swift. It began with an innocuous comment from a friend who noticed how often I seemed to doubt myself. Their observation planted a seed of curiosity, urging me to pay closer attention to my own mental chatter. Have you ever noticed how a single offhand remark can resonate deeply if it catches you at the right moment? That was my experience. It beckoned me to dive deeper into the undercurrents of my mind. The first step was introspection. Imagine sitting quietly, without any distractions, and simply listening to what your mind has to say. It's a bit like tuning into a radio station you didn't realize you had access to. At first, it was overwhelming, the flood of thoughts ranging from the mundane to the cripplingly self-critical. I started jotting these down, creating a journal of recurring themes and ideas. This exercise alone was enlightening, revealing patterns I had been oblivious to. One significant pattern stood out: a relentless pursuit of perfection. From career goals to relationships, the bar was always set impossibly high. Realizing how this perfectionism paralyzed me in various aspects of life was a sobering moment. It was an invisible anchor holding me back, one that I had the power to release. Once these patterns are illuminated, the next step is understanding their origins. Many of our recurring thoughts stem from childhood experiences, societal expectations, or even past traumas. For me, tracing back the genesis of my perfectionism led me to an early school report. It praised my high grades, but subtly hinted that there was always room for improvement. This seemingly benign comment had snowballed over the years into an insidious belief that good enough was synonymous with failure. Recognizing these patterns isn't just about identifying the negatives. It's equally crucial to acknowledge positive thought patterns that aid growth and well-being. For instance, my determination to pursue knowledge and my relentless curiosity often led to meaningful breakthroughs and accomplishments. Shining a light on these constructive patterns provided a sense of balance, showing that not all recurring thoughts were chains, some were wings. As I continued this practice, a remarkable shift began. The simple act of awareness weakened the grip of negative thought patterns. It was like seeing a shadow for what it is, a mere absence of light, rather than a lurking monster. Implementing strategies like cognitive restructuring allowed me to challenge these thoughts constructively. Whenever the all-too-familiar never good enough arose, I would counter it with evidence of my accomplishments, however small they might seem. But perhaps the most powerful tool in this journey has been mindfulness. Engaging in mindfulness meditation gave me the ability to observe thoughts without judgment. It taught me that thoughts are transient, like clouds passing by. They don't define who we are. This mindfulness practice became a foundation for cultivating self-compassion, allowing me to treat myself with the kindness and understanding I'd readily offered to a friend. So, how do you start this transformative journey? Begin with small steps. Dedicate a few minutes each day to sit quietly and observe your thoughts. Keep a journal, noting down recurring themes. Over time, embark on a journey of introspection to unearth the origins of these patterns. Embrace mindfulness practices to foster a non-judgmental awareness. And most importantly, remember that change is a gradual process. Celebrate your progress, no matter how seemingly insignificant. This journey isn't about achieving a state of perpetual positivity. It's about attaining a balanced awareness, recognizing when our thoughts hinder and when they help. By doing so, we create a foundation for positive change, unlocking our true potential. The road ahead may be long, but every step forward brings us closer to a richer, more fulfilling life. Embracing self-awareness. It's a peculiar thing, self-awareness. I remember a time when I believed I had a solid understanding of who I was, my likes, dislikes, strengths, and flaws. I wore my self-assuredness like a badge, believing that my experiences had crafted a clear picture of my identity. But then, in the quiet moments, doubts would surface. Was I truly aware of my deepest motivations? Could I understand the emotions that would sometimes ambush me out of nowhere? The journey toward genuine self-awareness began with a simple yet profound realization. I didn't know myself as well as I thought I did. It was humbling, to say the least. The turning point came one evening as I sat in a small cafe, engrossed in a book about emotional intelligence. The concept of self-awareness leapt out from the pages, capturing my attention and challenging my long-held perceptions. As I delved deeper, I began to appreciate the complexity of human behavior. Self-awareness isn't just understanding what you like or dislike. It's recognizing the underlying reasons behind those preferences. It's comprehending how past experiences shape your reactions and how unconscious biases influence your decisions. I began to ponder, why did certain situations trigger intense anxiety? What exactly did I seek in my relationships and career? The answers didn't come all at once. It was a gradual process, like peeling away the layers of an onion. Each layer revealed new insights. I found journaling particularly helpful. Scribbling down my thoughts and feelings, no matter how trivial they seemed, brought clarity. Patterns began to emerge, patterns I was previously blind to. I noticed how stress at work was often a result of my perfectionist tendencies, or how the discomfort in social settings stemmed from a deep-seated fear of rejection. This new understanding was enlightening, but also unsettling. It forced me to confront parts of myself that I'd rather ignore. However, facing these uncomfortable truths was crucial for personal growth. It took time and patience, but gradually, I began to recognize what truly drove my behaviors. Identifying the root causes empowered me. Instead of feeling victim to my impulses, I started taking proactive steps toward change. Self-awareness also had a profound impact on my relationships. When you understand your own emotions and motivations, you become more empathetic toward others. I found myself more attuned to the feelings and needs of those around me. Misunderstandings that once led to conflicts were now opportunities for deeper connections. The compassion I extended to myself made it easier to extend the same to others. However, the road was not always smooth. There were moments when the insights I gained were overwhelming. It was tempting to retreat into old habits, to deny the uncomfortable truths. But each time, I reminded myself why this journey was important. Self-awareness is not a destination, but a continuous path. It requires daily effort and mindfulness. As I sit here today, reflecting on this journey, I feel a sense of gratitude. Embracing self-awareness has not only deepened my understanding of myself, but has also equipped me with the tools to navigate life with greater clarity and purpose. It's a journey I believe everyone should embark on. It might seem daunting at first, but the rewards are profound and life-changing. So, where do you start? Begin by observing your thoughts and emotions without judgment. Ask yourself why you feel the way you do in different situations. Keep a journal, talk to trusted friends, or seek professional guidance if needed. Remember, self-awareness is a practice, not a one-time achievement. Embrace it with curiosity, and you'll discover a deeper, richer version of yourself waiting to be unveiled. Cultivating emotional intelligence. A few years ago, I found myself standing at a crossroads in life, grappling with stress and an overwhelming sense of discontent. Despite having a successful career and a loving family, something crucial was missing. Little did I realize then that this essential missing piece was self-awareness. Self-awareness is the cornerstone of emotional intelligence. It's about understanding your emotions and how they influence your thoughts and actions. For me, the journey began with simple mindfulness exercises. I'd set aside a few minutes each morning to reflect on my mood and identify the root causes of my emotions. It wasn't long before I started noticing patterns, how certain situations triggered specific feelings, and how my initial reactions often intensified the problem. One practical tip that worked wonders was keeping a journal. Every day, I'd jot down my thoughts and feelings without judgment. This practice helped me recognize my emotional triggers and offered insights into my behavioral patterns. For instance, I discovered that I felt immense pressure during project deadlines, not because of the workload, but because of my fear of failure. Recognizing this helped me manage my fears better and approach tasks more calmly. As I delved deeper into emotional intelligence, the next challenge was self-regulation, handling my emotions with composure and ensuring my reactions were appropriate. This didn't mean suppressing emotions, but rather managing them effectively. There was a time I received unexpectedly harsh feedback from a colleague. My immediate impulse was to react defensively. But I paused, took a deep breath, and asked for more specific examples. This change in approach not only diffused the tension, but also turned the feedback session into a constructive dialogue. It was a small victory in my journey of self-regulation. I found a few strategies incredibly useful: deep breathing, counting to 10 before responding, and even taking a brief walk to clear my head. These small tactics gave me the space to process my emotions and respond thoughtfully rather than react impulsively. Understanding what drives you is another critical component of emotional intelligence. For a long time, I was motivated by external rewards, promotions, salary hikes, and accolades. While these are important, they didn't provide lasting satisfaction. It was through introspection I learned the importance of intrinsic motivation, pursuing goals that align with your core values and passions. I started focusing on projects that resonated with me personally. The shift was remarkable. Work no longer felt like a chore, and my productivity and creativity soared. If you're looking to boost your motivation, start by setting personal goals that excite you. Break them down into manageable tasks, celebrate small victories, and constantly remind yourself why you embarked on this path in the first place. Empathy, the ability to understand and share the feelings of others, is a powerful tool for building strong relationships. I recall an incident with a young intern who seemed distant and disengaged. Initially, I attributed it to a lack of interest. But when I took the time to converse with them genuinely, I learned they were dealing with personal challenges and felt overwhelmed. Empathy transformed our relationship. I offered support and adjusted their workload, and soon, they blossomed into one of the most dedicated team members. It taught me the importance of seeing beyond surface behaviors and understanding the underlying emotions. To cultivate empathy, practice active listening. Truly focus on the person speaking without planning your response. Mirror their emotions to show you understand, and don't be afraid to ask open-ended questions that allow them to express themselves more freely. Finally, emotional intelligence wouldn't be complete without social skills. It's about effective communication, conflict resolution, and building networks of trust. I used to struggle with speaking up in meetings. Fear of judgment often held me back. What helped was joining a public speaking group where I practiced expressing my ideas clearly and confidently. Over time, my ability to communicate improved, and so did my relationships at work. Colleagues appreciated my input, and collaborations became more fruitful. In your journey to enhance social skills, focus on improving your communication. Be clear and concise, but also considerate. Pay attention to nonverbal cues and strive to be genuine in your interactions. Building strong relationships is less about saying the right things and more about being truly present and authentic with others. The path to cultivating emotional intelligence is ongoing and deeply personal, but the rewards are immeasurable. Every step taken towards better understanding and managing your emotions brings you closer to a more fulfilling and harmonious life. Chapter 3: The Influence of Beliefs and Values. Unpacking limiting beliefs. Have you ever had that nagging voice in your head whispering you're not good enough? That was me, too. I vividly remember the time when I wanted to switch careers. I had this deep-seated belief that I wasn't capable, that success was reserved for others. Little did I know, those thoughts were limiting beliefs, mental roadblocks stopping me from reaching my full potential. Unpacking these beliefs is like opening a tightly bound box, layer by layer. First, you have to identify them. I started by jotting down every negative thought that popped into my mind when I contemplated my goals. It was surprising, even slightly overwhelming, to see the list. Thoughts like, "I'm too old to start over," or "I'm not smart enough," glared back at me from the page, stark and cruel. Identifying these thoughts is the crucial first step. Without knowing what you're battling, how can you ever hope to triumph? Once you have identified these limiting beliefs, the next step is to challenge them. It's as if you're a lawyer scrutinizing each belief for holes in its arguments. For each negative thought, I asked myself a few critical questions. What evidence do I have that this belief is truly accurate? Is there another way to look at this situation? For instance, when I thought, I'm not smart enough, I countered it by reminding myself of my past successes and the complex tasks I'd managed to handle. But challenging these beliefs isn't enough. You have to replace them with empowering ones. Think of this as reprogramming your mind. For every limiting thought, create a positive, affirming statement. Instead of "I'm too old," tell yourself, "I have valuable life experience." I found it helpful to write these empowering beliefs on sticky notes and place them around my home, on the bathroom mirror, the refrigerator, even the dashboard of my car. Constant reminders can help etch these new beliefs into your consciousness. This journey doesn't end here. Unpacking your limiting beliefs is an ongoing process, one that requires consistent effort. A powerful exercise I found helpful is the reality check. Whenever a limiting belief creeps in, I stop, take a deep breath, and assess the current reality without the lens of my fears. It's akin to hitting the reset button, allowing you to view your situation with a fresh perspective. Imagine, for a moment, if your best friend voiced the same limiting beliefs you struggle with. You'd likely rush to assure them of their capabilities and potential. Treat yourself with the same kindness and encouragement. Often, we are our harshest critics. It's time we become our greatest advocates. As you start peeling back the layers of your limiting beliefs and replacing them with empowering truths, you'll begin to see a shift. Suddenly, what once seemed daunting feels doable. The ceiling you thought capped your potential lifts, revealing an expanse of possibilities. Remember, liberation from these self-imposed shackles won't happen overnight. But with persistence and patience, you'll gradually feel a lightness, a newfound sense of freedom. So, take a deep breath, grab a pen, and start unpacking those limiting beliefs. Your potential is vast, and it's time you embrace it. Aligning values with actions. There was a moment, sitting at a cafe in my hometown, that the concept of aligning my values with my actions struck me like a bolt of lightning. I had been reading a book on personal development, sipping my customary latte, when a passage resonated so deeply it prompted me to examine my own life. Am I truly living in alignment with my values? The question lingered in my mind like an uninvited guest. To start this introspective journey, I needed to understand what my core values were. It sounds simple, but the reality was far more complex. Values are those guiding principles that shape our decisions, guide our behavior, and ultimately define who we are. They are our internal compass, quietly influencing our daily lives. However, the noise of everyday existence, work commitments, social obligations, and personal responsibilities often drowns out these intrinsic guidelines. I found a quiet corner in my house, armed myself with a notebook and a pen, and began listing down what I believed mattered most to me. Authenticity, kindness, growth, integrity, and family. The process felt like peeling an onion, each layer revealing deeper truths about myself. It wasn't a one-time effort. Each value I listed came with its own set of questions and reflections. Once I had my values identified, the real challenge was ensuring my actions mirrored them. This was not going to be a quick fix. It required honest self-assessment and sometimes painful realizations. One particular instance comes to mind. I always considered myself someone who valued honesty, yet I found myself frequently agreeing to commitments I had no interest in just to avoid conflict. By doing so, was I truly being honest with myself or others? I realized that aligning actions with values often necessitates difficult decisions. It demands saying no when it's easier to say yes, standing up for what you believe in, and sometimes, letting go of relationships or commitments that no longer serve your core principles. I began by making small changes, prioritizing sincerity in my conversations, even if it meant uncomfortable discussions, and carving out time for self-growth activities like reading and taking online courses. One practical strategy that helped me was drafting a personal mission statement. A succinct declaration of what I stand for and how I intend to live my life. This mission statement became my North Star, a reference point I could return to whenever I felt lost or conflicted. Every action, big or small, could be weighed against this yardstick. Does it serve my mission or detract from it? Tracking progress was crucial. I maintained a journal, not just to document actions, but to reflect on their alignment with my values. Were there days I faltered? Absolutely. But the periodic review helped me to recalibrate and stay on course. It's a continuous effort. Aligning values with actions is a dynamic, evolving process. This approach to life, examining and aligning values with actions, has brought me immeasurable fulfillment. There's a profound sense of integrity and peace that comes from knowing you're living authentically. It's like shedding a weight you didn't realize you were carrying. And this isn't exclusive to me. I've seen friends and colleagues transform their lives with similar practices. It's universal and achievable. So, I urge you to take a moment, perhaps in a quiet cafe or a cozy corner of your home, to reflect on your core values. Write them down, question them, and then scrutinize your actions. Are they in harmony? If not, start making those changes, however small. It may not be easy, but the journey towards living in alignment with your values is worth every step. As you walk this path, you will find not just fulfillment, but a truer version of yourself. Creating empowering belief systems. I used to believe that success was reserved for the fortunate few. Growing up, it seemed like only those with innate talent, significant resources, or just plain luck managed to make it to the top. However, as I delved deeper into the world of personal development and psychology, I discovered that my limiting beliefs were exactly that, just beliefs. They weren't facts, they were boundaries I had unknowingly set for myself. The turning point came during a life coaching seminar. The speaker emphasized that our beliefs shape our reality. Think of your beliefs as the lens through which you view the world, she said. If that lens is clouded by doubt and negativity, you'll see a world filled with obstacles. But if it's clear and focused, opportunities will emerge. That analogy hit home for me. I realized my success, or lack thereof, was a reflection of my internal beliefs. The first technique I adopted was reframing negative beliefs. For example, instead of saying, "I'm not good at public speaking," I began telling myself, "I have the potential to become an excellent public speaker with practice." This shift in perspective felt awkward initially, but it gradually opened my mind to new possibilities and, more importantly, to the idea that I could change. Another powerful tool I embraced was visualization. I started each day by visualizing both immediate tasks and long-term goals. I'd picture myself confidently delivering a presentation, closing a business deal, or even just handling daily stresses calmly. These mental rehearsals prepared my mind to face real-world situations more effectively. I'd feel a sense of déjà vu, which significantly reduced my anxiety and improved my performance. One of the most impactful changes came from surrounding myself with positive influences. I sought out mentors, friends, and even books that resonated with the belief systems I wanted to cultivate. Jim Rohn famously said, "You are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with." By aligning myself with those who exuded confidence, resilience, and positivity, their mindsets gradually rubbed off on me. Their success stories became blueprints for my own aspirations. But of all the techniques I learned, perhaps the most transformative was learning to be kind to myself. For so long, I had been my harshest critic, always focusing on shortcomings and failures. By practicing self-compassion, I began to view setbacks as learning experiences rather than definitive judgments on my abilities. This gentler approach didn't just boost my morale. It enabled me to take risks and pursue opportunities one would have previously shied away from. Adopting an empowering belief system is not an overnight process. It's an ongoing journey requiring consistent effort and self-awareness. Even now, I constantly monitor my thoughts, checking for any limiting beliefs trying to sneak back in. The difference is that now I have the tools to challenge and change them. So, as you embark on your own journey of creating empowering beliefs, remember that it all begins with a single step: awareness. Identify the beliefs holding you back. Challenge them. Reframe them. Visualize your success. Surround yourself with positivity and, most importantly, be kind to yourself. Your future self will thank you. Chapter 4. Mastering your inner dialogue. Conquering negative self-talk. When I was in my 20s, my internal critic had a field day with me. Every misstep or failure, no matter how small, became fodder for a relentless internal monologue that dissected each perceived flaw. "You're not good enough," it whispered. "Everyone else has it figured out except you." And I celebrated these whispers with a grim acceptance, unaware of the damage they were inflicting on my psyche and potential. This adversarial relationship with myself came to a head during a project at work. Tasked with presenting a new strategy to the board of directors, I prepared extensively, yet each practice session ended with my inner voice ripping apart my performance. "You're going to mess this up," it repeated. My confidence dwindled, and with it, the quality of my preparation. On the eve of the presentation, I called my mentor, Maria, in desperation. She listened quietly as I listed all the reasons I believed I would fail. When I finished, she asked me a simple question: Would you speak to a friend the way you're speaking to yourself right now? The answer was, embarrassingly, no. Maria then introduced me to the concept of reframing, taking the same situation and viewing it through a lens of constructive self-talk rather than destructive criticism. Armed with this newfound perspective, I decided to confront my inner critic head-on the next morning. I visualized each negative thought as it arose, holding it in my mind's eye before consciously transforming it. "You're going to mess this up," became, "You've prepared well and you're capable." It wasn't an instant cure-all, but each positive affirmation felt like a small victory. The presentation went smoothly, not perfect, but it didn't need to be. The board was impressed, and I felt an unfamiliar yet deeply satisfying sense of achievement. This experience marked the beginning of my journey towards transforming negative self-talk into a supportive, encouraging inner dialogue. Over the years, I've gleaned insights from various experts on cognitive behavioral techniques, mindfulness, and self-compassion. Dr. Kristin Neff's work on self-compassion, for example, has been invaluable. She advocates treating oneself with the same kindness and understanding as we would a dear friend, especially during times of failure or inadequacy. One practical method I use is the 3 C's. First, catch the negative thought. Then, challenge its validity. Finally, change it to something more helpful. For instance, when I think, "I'm bad at this," I catch it, ask myself, "Is this really true? What evidence do I have?" And then change it to, "I'm learning and improving with each attempt." This transformative practice requires patience and persistence, but the rewards are profound. Every time I successfully shift my internal dialogue from critical to constructive, I feel a little more liberated. It's like unclasping the shackles of self-doubt, allowing for true growth and confidence to flourish. As we continue this journey together, remember this: the goal isn't to silence the inner critic completely, that may be unrealistic, but rather, to turn it into a helpful coach. After all, the most important conversations we'll ever have are the ones we have with ourselves. Harnessing the power of positive affirmations. I remember the first time I heard about positive affirmations. I was skeptical, to say the least. Standing in front of a mirror and repeating phrases like "I am strong" or "I am capable" seemed like an exercise in futility, a veneer of positivity glossing over deeper issues. But curiosity got the better of me, and I decided to delve into the science behind it. To my surprise, I discovered there is substantial evidence suggesting that positive affirmations can indeed rewire our brains, helping to reshape our thought patterns and influence our behaviors. As I embarked on this journey, I came across numerous studies revealing how affirmations activate the reward centers of our brains. These regions, the ventromedial prefrontal cortex and the nucleus accumbens, are associated with our sense of self-worth and positive valuation of actions. This wasn't just self-help fluff, this was neuroscience at work. Intrigued, I began to incorporate affirmations into my own life, albeit with a measure of doubt still lingering. Creating effective affirmations requires a dash of creativity and a lot of introspection. The first step is to identify the specific areas of your life that you wish to improve. Are you looking to boost your self-esteem, achieve career growth, or perhaps cultivate healthier relationships? Once you have pinpointed these areas, it's time to craft affirmations that are positive, present tense, and personal. For instance, instead of saying "I will be successful," you might say "I am successful." This subtle shift from the future to the present tense encourages your brain to start acting as if the affirmation is already true. Applying these affirmations consistently is where the magic happens. You need to integrate them into your daily routine, repeating them during moments of quiet reflection or right before you tackle tasks that challenge you. Over time, these affirmations begin to override the negative self-talk that often sabotages our efforts. I, for one, have noticed a significant change in my mindset since adopting this practice. My self-doubt has been replaced by a newfound confidence, propelling me towards achieving goals that once seemed out of reach. But it's not always easy. There are days when the negative chatter in my mind becomes almost deafening, drowning out the positive affirmations. It's during these times that I remind myself of the importance of persistence. Change, especially change that occurs at a neurological level, is not instantaneous. It requires patience, commitment, and a willingness to push through the discomfort. Reflecting on my progress, I realize that each small victory, each moment where I choose to affirm rather than doubt, brings me closer to the person I aspire to be. One particular experience stands out. There was a major presentation at work, and my anxiety was through the roof. However, I decided to put my affirmations to the test. I spent the night before repeating, "I am a confident and effective communicator." As I stood before my colleagues, the familiar surge of panic began to rise, but something remarkable happened. My rehearsed affirmation echoed in my mind, providing a steadying force. The presentation was a success, and that experience cemented my belief in the power of positive affirmations. In sharing this journey, my hope is to inspire you to explore the world of positive affirmations with an open mind. Start small, be patient with yourself, and observe the changes as they unfold. Remember, this isn't about perfection. It's about progress. Whether you're striving to overcome self-doubt, reach new heights in your career, or simply foster a more positive outlook on life, affirmations can be a powerful tool in your arsenal. They have certainly been in mine. Developing a growth-oriented mindset. If I could pinpoint a single moment that shifted my perspective on growth, it was the morning I stumbled upon Carol Dweck's research on mindsets. There I was, a freshly minted graduate unsure of my path, casually paging through articles over a cup of coffee. What struck me about Dweck's work wasn't just the stark divide between fixed and growth mindsets, but the realization that I had been living in the former camp for most of my life. It's one thing to read about concepts in academia. It's entirely different when you see yourself mirrored in them. My first real test came when I failed to land my dream job. I had always been high-achieving, and the rejection felt like an indictment of my entire self-worth. But armed with the newfound knowledge about growth mindsets, I was reminded that setbacks are not definitive ends, but opportunities disguised in disappointment. I revisited my application with fresh eyes, sought feedback, and took on additional training. When a similar opportunity arose months later, I was better prepared and confidently secured the position. It was a small victory, but it cemented the belief that my abilities weren't static, they were ever evolving. Cultivating resilience became my next challenge. I found that resilience isn't about bouncing back to a previous state, but about adapting and growing stronger from adversity. One method that significantly helped me was journaling. By documenting my setbacks alongside the lessons learned and the actions I took, I created a tangible track record of growth. Over time, these entries transformed into a roadmap of my resilience. The act of writing made me more mindful of the silver linings and strengthened my resolve to push through difficulties. Embracing challenges was another cornerstone of developing a growth-oriented mindset. I began to see challenges not as daunting roadblocks, but as puzzles to solve. In my professional sphere, tackling unfamiliar tasks initially felt overwhelming. I can vividly recall the time I had to spearhead a project that demanded skills I hadn't yet mastered. Instead of shying away or delegating the task, I decided to dive in headfirst. I sought mentorship, enrolled in quick courses, and wasn't afraid to make mistakes along the way. The process was grueling, but the sense of accomplishment and the skills acquired were unparalleled. Each challenge I embraced became a stepping stone, building confidence and a reservoir of knowledge. One of the most liberating shifts was learning to perceive failures as opportunities for growth. In our success-oriented society, failure often carries a stigma, an unwelcome guest we're eager to avoid. Yet, reframing failure as a feedback mechanism transformed it from an adversary into an ally. Every misstep became a learning moment, a form of vigorous feedback that highlighted areas for improvement. The key was to detach failure from my identity. Instead of "I failed," I reframed it to "This approach didn't work. What can I do differently?" This subtle shift had a profound impact, encouraging a more analytical and less emotional response to setbacks. One example that stands out is a public speaking blunder that initially felt mortifying. I remember standing on that stage, words escaping my mind, feeling my confidence wane with each passing second. But in its aftermath, I meticulously analyzed what had gone wrong, practiced more rigorously, sought feedback, and treated subsequent smaller engagements as practice grounds. Eventually, public speaking became one of my strongest skills, fueling further professional growth. The journey to a growth-oriented mindset is neither linear nor easy. It's laden with moments of self-doubt, reflection, and incremental progress. Yet, the rewards far outweigh the struggles. Every time I stumble now, I see it as another piece of the grand puzzle I'm piecing together, knowing that each fragment, no matter how jagged, has its place in my growth narrative. So here I am, sharing these insights with you, not as an endpoint but a continuing journey. A growth-oriented mindset isn't a destination but a way of life, a lens through which we see and approach every facet of existence. Whether you're navigating personal setbacks or professional hurdles, I urge you to embrace this perspective. Let each challenge be a teacher, each failure a lesson, and each success a testament to the untapped potential within you. Chapter 5. Navigating the complexities of emotions. Managing stress and anxiety. There was a time when I couldn't step out of my house without a tight knot coiling in my stomach. Anxiety had sunk its claws deep, and stress was my constant companion. I realized I had to find ways to manage these feelings before they completely took over my life. My journey towards finding balance began unexpectedly one evening during a simple walk in the park. As the golden hues of the sunset kissed the treetops, I stumbled upon a group practicing mindfulness in a small clearing. Curious, I joined them. They were focused on their breathing, attuned to the present moment. I could feel the weight of my worries ebbing away, replaced by a profound sense of calm. This was my first encounter with mindfulness, and it was a game changer. Mindfulness, in essence, is about grounding yourself in the present. It requires deliberate attention to your thoughts and physical sensations while acknowledging them without judgment. Each morning, I began with a simple breathing exercise. A few minutes of deep inhales and exhales, paired with a conscious effort to feel the air fill my lungs and leave, slowly centered my mind. Simultaneously, I delved into the world of meditation. At first, it felt daunting, sitting still in silence, battling the incessant chatter in my mind. But with time, as I persisted, it became a sanctuary. I found an app that guided me through the process, and each session turned into a journey towards inner peace. I started with 3-minute meditations, slowly increasing the duration. The daily practice built resilience and allowed me a brief retreat where anxiety didn't reign supreme. One profound realization was that physical activity played an indispensable role. I started incorporating regular exercise into my life, not the grueling workouts that left me exhausted, but gentle activities such as yoga and walking. Moving my body seemed to flush out the stress accumulated over the day, almost like shaking off dust from a blanket. The combination of attention to breath, movement, and stillness brought a harmony I hadn't thought possible. Another strategy that worked wonders was reframing my thoughts. Cognitive behavioral techniques taught me to challenge the negative beliefs that fed into my anxiety. Instead of immediately jumping to catastrophic conclusions, I learned to ask myself probing questions. Is this really true? Or what is the evidence supporting this thought? These simple inquiries broke the chain of negativity and brought a more balanced perspective. As days turned into months, the tight knot in my stomach loosened, and the constant hum of stress began to quiet down. Connecting with loved ones, sharing my struggles without fear of judgment, created a support system that caught me when I faltered. I started maintaining a journal, capturing my thoughts and feelings. Pouring my heart onto paper was cathartic and, over time, provided insights into my own patterns and triggers. Through this journey, I've come to understand that managing stress and anxiety isn't about eliminating them altogether. It's about changing my relationship with these emotions. Daily mindfulness, meditation, physical activity, cognitive reframing, and the support of my community are now the cornerstones of my mental health toolkit. They empower me to navigate life's inevitable storms with greater ease and confidence. Stress and anxiety might always be a part of my life, but instead of being controlled by them, I now possess the tools to manage and alleviate their impact. I hope sharing my experiences will inspire you to explore these techniques and find what works best for you. Remember, every step you take towards managing these challenges is a step towards reclaiming your life and well-being. Practicing emotional regulation techniques. It was one of those mornings where everything felt like it was conspiring against me. My alarm didn't go off, my coffee machine refused to brew, and I had an impending deadline that felt like a ticking time bomb. My heart was racing, and a knot tightened in my stomach. In prior years, a cascade of anxiety would have enveloped me entirely, rendering me practically useless for the rest of the day. But today, I reminded myself, was going to be different. I took a deep breath and recalled the techniques I'd been practicing. Emotional regulation, something that seemed so elusive once, had become a skill I worked diligently at. I started with deep breathing exercises, inhaling slowly through my nose, holding it for a count of 4, and exhaling deeply through my mouth. It's amazing how something so simple can realign your entire being. I felt my heartbeat slow just a bit, enough to think more clearly. It's just a rough start, I told myself, employing the self-talk method I'd learned. Positive affirmations aren't just empty phrases, they're empowering lifelines. I told myself I was capable, resourceful, and resilient. The knot in my stomach began to loosen as my inner dialogue shifted from defeatist to empowering. One of the most transformative tools in my toolkit has been mindfulness meditation. It's not always about sitting cross-legged on a cushion. Sometimes, it's as simple as focusing entirely on the sensation of warm water on my skin while I wash my face or the smell of fresh coffee beans as I grind them. These grounding techniques help me remain present and prevent my mind from spiraling. I've also been keeping an emotion journal. Whenever I feel overwhelmed, I take a few minutes to jot down what I'm experiencing. Sometimes writing out my frustrations clarifies them, making solutions more apparent. On other occasions, it serves as a release valve, allowing pent-up emotions to flow harmlessly onto paper. Reflecting on past entries where I successfully navigated emotional turbulences also provides a confidence boost. Just as I finished my coffee, the phone rang. It was my colleague, Mark, who sounded just as frazzled as I had been earlier. It turned out he was also behind on his part of the project. In the past, this would have exacerbated my anxiety, but today, I saw it as an opportunity. Mark, I said calmly, let's tackle this together. We'll divide the work and meet in an hour to check our progress. Delegating and collaboration are also essential tools for emotional regulation. They remind you that you're not alone and that there's strength in numbers. Mark agreed, audibly relieved. By the time we hung up, I already felt more composed. I made a new to-do list, breaking down tasks into smaller, manageable steps. With a clear plan in place, the overwhelming mountain of work seemed more like a series of small hills. As the day progressed, I encountered additional stressors. An email from a client with last-minute changes, a traffic jam on the way to a meeting, little tests that used to accumulate and tip me over the edge. But each time, I paused, assessed my emotional state, and applied the most appropriate regulation technique. That evening, as I finally sat down with a sense of accomplishment, I realized the true power of these emotional regulation techniques. They gave me the tools to reclaim my day from chaos and provided a buffer against the emotional storms that life inevitably throws our way. It isn't about achieving a state of perpetual calm. It's about strengthening your ability to navigate through the turbulence with grace. To anyone reading this, I want to say, emotional regulation isn't a magical switch, but a set of skills you can develop and refine. It's a journey worth embarking upon, and each little success builds a fortress of resilience. The hardest part is often the beginning, but remember, the benefits far outweigh the effort. Keep breathing, keep journaling, keep grounding yourself in the present, and soon you'll find a newfound mastery over your emotional landscape. Empowering yourself through emotional resilience. There's a saying my grandmother used to repeat whenever life threw a curveball my way. Life is not what happens to you, but how you react to it. I didn't understand the depth of those words until I faced some of my toughest challenges. When everything seems to crumble around you, it's your emotional resilience that serves as a sturdy foundation. Building this resilience isn't an overnight affair. It's a journey filled with intentional steps, self-reflection, and a touch of patience. One pivotal moment came when I lost my job unexpectedly. The initial shock was overwhelming, my mind flooded with doubts and fears. But amid the chaos, I recalled my grandmother's wisdom. Instead of surrendering to despair, I decided to take a proactive approach. First, I acknowledged my emotions, anger, sadness, and even a bit of relief. Naming these feelings gave me a sense of control and clarity. Next, I practiced gratitude, a powerful tool that shifts focus from what's lost to what's still standing. I sat down and listed things I was grateful for: my supportive family, my health, and even the free time to explore new opportunities. It felt like lifting a heavy fog, allowing rays of hope to pierce through. These simple exercises were my first steps towards reclaiming my emotional stability. But resilience goes beyond recognizing and redirecting emotions. It's about cultivating a mindset that thrives on challenges. I dove into self-help books and research articles, learning from experts who had walked similar paths. A recurring theme was the importance of a growth mindset, the belief that abilities and intelligence can be developed through dedication and hard work. I started setting small, achievable goals to rebuild my career. Each step forward, no matter how minor, reinforced my belief in my capabilities. I sought advice from mentors and even volunteered, not just to expand my skill set, but to gain a sense of purpose. This proactive engagement kept the negative self-talk at bay and reinforced a narrative of progress and possibility. Another vital aspect of building emotional resilience is developing healthy coping mechanisms. I discovered mindfulness and meditation, practices that grounded me when anxiety threatened to overwhelm. Regular exercise and a balanced diet also played crucial roles in maintaining my mental well-being. The energy and clarity I gained from these habits were indispensable during turbulent times. It's also essential to have a strong support system. I leaned on friends and family, openly sharing my struggles and victories. Their encouragement was a lifeline, reminding me that I wasn't alone. Surrounding yourself with positive influences can drastically alter your emotional landscape, infusing you with strength and hope. As I continued this journey, I realized that setbacks were not signs of failure, but opportunities to grow stronger. With each challenge, I refined my strategies, adapting and evolving. Resilience became not just a trait but a practice, a series of deliberate actions taken daily to reinforce my emotional foundation. Empowering yourself through emotional resilience is about more than just surviving. It's about thriving despite adversity. By acknowledging our emotions, adopting a growth mindset, cultivating healthy habits, and seeking support, we construct a robust framework that can withstand life's inevitable storms. The next time you face a setback, remember that your response shapes your reality. Embrace the journey with courage and patience, for in resilience lies the true essence of strength. Chapter 6: Unleashing the Potential of Your Subconscious Mind. Understanding the subconscious. The first time I truly grasped the power of my subconscious mind was a quiet afternoon at a local cafe. I was sipping on my usual coffee, lost in a book about human psychology, when a phrase caught my eye: the subconscious mind is the seat of all habits. It struck me profoundly. How often had I been driven by invisible forces, making choices that seemed inexplicable in the light of day? It was as if a veil lifted, revealing a hidden puppet master pulling the strings of my daily life. Our subconscious mind is a vast, enigmatic landscape responsible for much of our behavior and decision-making processes. It operates below the level of conscious awareness, storing memories, experiences, and emotions. This hidden part of our psyche shapes our actions in ways we often fail to recognize. It's where our deepest fears and desires reside, and it governs our habits, for better or worse. Have you ever found yourself doing something on autopilot, like suddenly craving a specific type of food or feeling an inexplicable sense of dread? That's your subconscious at play. Imagine this: you're driving home from work, lost in thought, and suddenly you realize you've arrived without remembering the journey. This phenomenon, aptly named highway hypnosis, is your subconscious mind at work. While your conscious mind drifts, your subconscious takes over, guiding you safely to your destination. It's incredibly efficient, yet it can be startling to realize how much it controls when we're not paying attention. But the influence of the subconscious goes beyond such mundane acts. It plays a crucial role in shaping our long-term behaviors and beliefs. Consider the way you react to stress. Are you quick to anger, or do you retreat into silence? These responses are often rooted in early experiences stored deeply in the subconscious. Over time, they translate into patterns that govern our interactions and decision-making processes. Tapping into the power of the subconscious mind can be transformative. Techniques such as meditation, visualization, and hypnosis offer avenues to communicate with this hidden part of ourselves. Last year, a close friend of mine struggled with ongoing anxiety. Traditional therapy provided some relief, but it wasn't until she began practicing mindfulness meditation that she started noticing substantial changes. She described it as peeling back layers of her mind, each session bringing her closer to the root causes of her distress. By quieting her conscious thoughts, she was able to tune into her deeper, subconscious feelings and begin the process of healing. Subconscious reprogramming, the practice of altering subconscious beliefs, can be particularly powerful. I recall using positive affirmations to overcome a personal hurdle, public speaking. For years, the very thought of addressing a crowd made my palms sweaty and my heart race. By repeatedly telling myself, "I am confident and articulate," and visualizing successful speeches, I gradually rewired my subconscious mind. The turning point came during a company meeting where, for the first time, I felt a genuine sense of calm and clarity. It felt nothing short of miraculous. As we continue to explore the depths of the subconscious, it's important to remain patient and persistent. Change doesn't happen overnight, and the journey is often filled with moments of frustration and self-doubt. But with each step, every small victory, we gain a deeper understanding of ourselves and the extraordinary power we possess. The true potential of harnessing our subconscious lies not just in altering our habits, but in reshaping our lives in profound and meaningful ways. So the next time you find yourself driven by an inexplicable urge or stuck in a repeating pattern, take a moment to pause and reflect. Delve into the depths of your subconscious, and you may discover hidden truths that can guide you toward a more conscious, empowered existence. It all begins with the willingness to look within and the courage to confront what lies beneath the surface. Tapping into subconscious creativity. If you're anything like me, you've probably experienced moments when an idea strikes you out of nowhere, often when you're least expecting it. Maybe you were in the shower, out for a walk, or even drifting off to sleep. These are moments when your subconscious mind is at its most active and creative. Our subconscious holds incredible power, a wellspring of creativity just waiting to be tapped into. Let me share a personal experience. A few years ago, I was stuck in a creative rut. Ideas that once came naturally seemed to dry up, and I began to doubt my creative abilities. It was during this low point that I stumbled upon the concept of tapping into the subconscious. I'm not a mystic by any stretch, but diving into scientific studies and age-old practices opened a new world for me. I discovered that our brains are wired for creativity. We just need to unlock it. One of the first techniques I tried was freewriting. The idea is simple: set a timer for 5 to 10 minutes and write whatever comes to your mind without stopping. No editing allowed. Initially, I found it challenging to let go, but soon random thoughts started forming coherent ideas. I saw connections where I hadn't seen them before, and soon enough, I had the raw material for an entire story. Another technique that works wonders is visualization. Before going to bed, focus on a creative problem or a blank canvas of what you want to work on. As you drift off to sleep, your mind will continue to mull over it. Keep a notebook by your bedside. You'll be amazed at the ideas that greet you when you wake up. Meditation also played a key role in enhancing my creativity. Meditation isn't solely about relaxation. It's a tool to quiet the conscious mind and allow the subconscious to speak. Even a few minutes of mindfulness each day can free up mental space, allowing creative thoughts to surface unencumbered by daily stressors. If you're more of a kinesthetic learner, try creative exercises like drawing, sculpting, or even dancing. I know, it may sound unrelated, but physical activities engage different parts of the brain and can serve as powerful conduits for creativity. I once solved a major plot hole in my novel while doodling aimlessly during a phone call. Music is another excellent trigger for the subconscious. Curate a playlist that resonates with the emotions or themes you're exploring. Personally, I've found that certain types of music can influence my creative output distinctly. For instance, classical music helps me think through complex ideas, while upbeat tracks energize my brainstorming sessions. Remember that creativity is not a straight path, but a winding journey. The techniques that work today might not work tomorrow, and that's okay. The key is to remain curious and open to experimenting with different methods. Tapping into your subconscious isn't about control, it's about partnership. Engage with it playfully and patiently, and it will reward you in countless ways. By incorporating these exercises and techniques, you can unlock a reservoir of creativity you never knew existed. So why wait? Give your subconscious a nudge, and see where it takes you. You might just surprise yourself. Programming your mind for success. Sitting on my living room couch, a hot cup of tea in hand, I couldn't help but take a moment to reflect. The night was silent, and yet my mind was bustling with thoughts. It's funny, isn't it? We often find ourselves pondering change and improvement during these quiet intervals. I remember when I first began to seriously contemplate the concept of success. The entire notion seemed abstract, almost ethereal. How does one even define success, let alone achieve it? My fascination with the mechanics of the mind began inadvertently. I was at a particularly low point in my life, weighed down by failures and plagued by self-doubt. It felt as though I was swimming against the current, expending all my energy but making little progress. I spoke to mentors, read numerous books, attended seminars, you name it. Slowly, a pattern began to emerge. Our minds, like computers, operate on codes. The default settings might not always work in our favor, but the good news is, we can reprogram them. Rewiring your brain for success isn't about flipping a switch. It's a process that requires diligence and patience. To start, I made a list of negative thoughts and beliefs that frequently tormented me. I'm not good enough. This will never work. What's the use? These were just a few. Instead of allowing these thoughts to fester, I challenged them. What if I spun each negative belief into a positive one? I am good enough. This can work. Every effort counts. It felt awkward at first, like wearing a new pair of shoes that needed breaking in. The science behind this practice is fascinating. Our brains are built to adapt, a phenomenon often referred to as neuroplasticity. Research demonstrates that by harnessing this trait, we can form new neural pathways that support our desired behaviors and attitudes. It was comforting to know that change was not only possible, but scientifically grounded. It's like having a map for a terrain you once thought untraversable. One practical method I found immensely beneficial was the use of daily affirmations. I wrote down affirmative statements and repeated them each morning. Words have power, more than we often give them credit for. By verbalizing these affirmations, I began to internalize them. The shift was gradual but palpable. I felt more focused, more driven. My internal dialogue transformed, steering me towards positive action rather than paralyzing doubt. No journey of self-improvement is without setbacks. I remember one particularly trying day at work, where nothing went as planned. Every email brought more bad news, every task seemed insurmountable. Old habits die hard, and I felt that familiar wave of defeat creeping in. But this time, armed with my new mindset tools, I paused, took a deep breath, and reminded myself of my affirmations. It didn't make the problems disappear, but it provided the resilience I needed to tackle them effectively. As the days turned to weeks, I noticed significant changes not just in my professional life, but in my personal interactions as well. Positive thinking had a domino effect. Friends and colleagues noticed my improved demeanor and became more open and collaborative themselves. It's astonishing how much our inner world influences our outer reality. Despite the progress, the journey towards mental reprogramming is ongoing. There are still moments of doubt, instances where the old negative patterns resurface. Yet, the difference now is in the toolkit I possess, an arsenal of positive habits and attitudes that support my aspirations. It's about persistence, not perfection. Each small victory is a brick paving the way to greater successes. In those quiet moments, like this one, I now find serenity instead of restlessness. The path forward is clearer, and though challenges remain, I meet them with the confidence that my mind, my greatest ally, is well tuned for success. So, let us begin this transformative journey together, one thought at a time. Chapter 7. The Art of Visualization and Manifestation.
Utilisez une visualisation technique.
I remember vividly the first time I heard about visualization techniques. It was during a casual conversation with a friend who had just completed a marathon. She mentioned that aside from her rigorous physical training, a big part of her preparation involved visualizing the race in her mind. At first, I was skeptical. Could simply imagining something in your head really make a difference in the real world? But then she shared how she would close her eyes and picture each mile, feeling the pavement under her feet, hearing the cheers of the crowd, and even experiencing the exhaustion and the powerful surge of crossing the finish line. It made me curious, eager to explore this mental tool that seemed almost magical. Visualization, I learned, is both an art and a science. It isn't just about daydreaming, it's about creating vivid, detailed mental images that can enhance performance and help you achieve your desired outcomes. What fascinated me most was that top athletes, successful entrepreneurs, and even NASA astronauts have been using visualization techniques for decades. They all swear by its power and effectiveness. But where does one start? How do you transform your thoughts into a powerful tool for real-world success? The key to effective visualization lies in making your mental images as clear and lifelike as possible. You want your mind to fully engage with the scenario you're picturing. This involves all your senses. Let's say you're an aspiring musician preparing for a big performance. Don't just see yourself on stage. Hear the applause of the audience, feel the smooth keys of your piano under your fingers, smell the wood of the piano, or even the faint scent of the performance hall. Engage every sense to create a rich, immersive experience. This heightened sensory involvement can trick your mind into believing you've already been there, done that, which in turn can significantly reduce anxiety and boost your confidence. One technique that has helped me tremendously is scripting my visualizations. I start with a clear goal in mind and then write a detailed narrative that includes the setting, the actions, and the emotions I want to feel. For instance, if I have an important presentation coming up, I'll script each step, from the moment I walk into the room, greeting my audience with a confident smile, to my clear and engaging delivery, and finally to the applause and acknowledgement I receive afterward. The more detailed my script, the more vivid my mental rehearsal becomes. It's also important to visualize both the process and the outcome. This means seeing yourself practicing, overcoming obstacles, and progressively getting better. For example, if your goal is to improve your running time, visualize your daily runs, feeling the burn in your muscles, pushing through fatigue, and seeing your time improve little by little. Don't just skip to the part where you win the race. By envisioning the entire journey, you train your mind to navigate challenges and stay motivated. Another compelling aspect of visualization I discovered is its ability to rewire our brains. Neuroscience shows that the brain doesn't always differentiate between real and imagined experiences. When you repeatedly visualize a task, you're essentially strengthening the neural pathways associated with that activity, making it easier and more efficient to perform in real life. This mental rehearsal can be a game changer, whether you're preparing for a sports event, a speech, or even navigating everyday challenges. It's like having a secret rehearsal room inside your head, where you can perfect your performance before the real deal. Let's talk about how to incorporate visualization into your daily routine. It doesn't require much time, just consistency. Start with a few minutes each day, ideally in a quiet space where you won't be disturbed. Close your eyes and take a few deep breaths to center yourself. Then, guide your mind through the detailed script you've prepared. The more you practice, the better you'll get at creating vivid, immersive visualizations. And don't get discouraged if it doesn't feel natural immediately. Like any skill, it takes time and practice to master. One of the most transformative experiences I had with visualization was when I was preparing for a major career move. The stakes were high, and the pressure was intense. I spent weeks imagining every aspect of the new role, how I would tackle my daily tasks, handle team meetings, and navigate potential challenges. When the day finally came, it felt almost like I was stepping into a familiar scene. The confidence and clarity I gained from those visualizations were invaluable. They didn't just prepare me for the role, they made me believe I could excel in it. As you embark on your journey with visualization, remember that it's a tool meant to empower and uplift you. It's not about creating perfect scenarios, but about building resilience and confidence. Embrace the process, be patient with yourself, and watch as your imagined experiences begin to shape your reality. It's a powerful testament to the strength of the human mind and the endless possibilities that lie within our imagination. Manifesting your deepest desires. Have you ever wondered why some people seem to effortlessly attract their desires, while others struggle despite their best efforts? The secret lies in the art and science of manifestation. When I first stumbled upon this concept, I was skeptical. But curiosity, combined with an innate desire to improve my life, led me down a path of discovery that would forever change my perspective on how we can shape our reality. Manifestation isn't just about wishful thinking, it's about harnessing the power of focused intention and aligned action. Let me share an experience that opened my eyes. A few years ago, I was stuck in a job that left me feeling uninspired and drained. I desperately wanted to find work that aligned with my passions, but I felt overwhelmed and unsure where to start. One evening, I came across an article on manifestation. It felt like a sign, so I decided to give it a try. And guess what? It worked. The first principle of manifestation is clarity. You need to be clear about what you want. Ambiguity can dilute your intention. I began by sitting down with my journal, writing out exactly what I desired in a job. I described the type of work, the environment, and the feeling of fulfillment I wanted to experience. Clarity became my North Star, guiding every step I took. Next comes visualization. This is where you mentally picture your desired outcome in vivid detail. I imagined myself thriving in my dream job, feeling content and inspired. Visualization isn't just daydreaming. It's a powerful tool that helps your subconscious mind accept your desires as achievable reality. I spent a few minutes each day visualizing my ideal job, feeling the emotions as if it were already mine. But manifestation goes beyond thought processes. It requires aligned action. I didn't just sit back and wait for my dream job to land in my lap. I updated my resume, reached out to potential networks, and applied for positions that resonated with my vision. Taking these practical steps sent out a powerful message to the universe that I was ready and willing to do my part. Belief is another crucial element. You must genuinely believe that what you desire is possible. Doubts can act as roadblocks, preventing your intentions from fully manifesting. I nurtured my belief by reading success stories, surrounding myself with positive influences, and using affirmations. I am worthy of work that fulfills me, became my daily mantra. Then, something amazing happened. One day, I received a call for an interview at a company that matched almost every aspect of my vision. The interview went smoothly, and a week later, I was offered the position. It felt like magic, but in reality, it was the result of focused intention, visualization, aligned action, and unwavering belief. To wrap up, manifestation is a journey of transforming desires into reality. By being clear about what you want, visualizing it with emotion, taking aligned actions, and maintaining belief, you can attract the life you desire. It's a blend of mental, emotional, and practical efforts that align with the universal laws at play. If my story can impart one lesson, it's that you hold the power to shape your destiny. Start today, and watch as the universe responds to your focused intent. Aligning actions with intentions. Have you ever set a goal with sheer determination, only to find yourself veering off course within days or even hours? I've been there. I remember a time when I resolved to run every morning. I bought the best running shoes, the perfect outfit, even downloaded motivational playlists. For the first 3 days, I was unstoppable. But then the enthusiasm waned, and I found myself hitting snooze more often than the pavement. My intentions were solid, but my actions didn't follow through, creating a frustrating cycle of unfulfilled promise. It's a common human experience, the disconnect between our aspirations and the steps we take toward them. This gap often stems from misaligned actions and intentions. So, how do we bridge this gap? It begins with understanding and acknowledging the importance of congruence. When our actions are in harmony with our intentions, we create a powerful synergy that propels us toward our goals. It's not magic. It's the deliberate alignment of behavior with desire. One practical approach to achieving this alignment is to start with clear, actionable steps. Consider breaking down your goals into smaller, manageable tasks. Instead of vowing to get fit, commit to a 15-minute walk after dinner each day. Document these steps and check them off as you complete them. The sense of accomplishment from each small victory fuels your motivation and keeps your intentions front and center. Another strategy is to integrate your goals into your daily routine seamlessly. If your intention is to read more, place a book by your bedside or carry it in your bag. Make it effortless to choose actions that align with your intentions. And don't underestimate the power of accountability. Share your goals with a friend or join a community with similar aspirations. When others are aware of our intentions, we're more likely to stick to behaviors that support them. Reflection plays a crucial role in maintaining this alignment. Regularly review your actions and ask yourself, are they bringing me closer to or further from my goal? This self-awareness helps identify patterns that undermine your intentions and allows you to make necessary adjustments. I remember when I started journaling my progress. It became a mirror reflecting my true efforts, and that clarity was often all I needed to recalibrate and stay on track. In the end, aligning actions with intentions is about consistency and patience. It's a journey, not a sprint. There will be days when you falter, and that's okay. The key is to recognize those moments, regroup, and keep moving forward. Each aligned action, no matter how small, brings you a step closer to the life you envision. As I continue to navigate my own path, I've found that the more my actions echo my intentions, the more fulfilled and inspired I feel. And that's a place I'll always strive to be. Chapter 8. Cultivating Mindfulness and Presence. Embracing the Power of Now. I've often found myself lost in the labyrinth of my thoughts, tangled in memories of the past or worries about the future. One morning, as I was sipping my coffee and staring out of the window, it hit me, I was barely present in my own life. That's when I decided to change my approach and focus on living in the present moment. This journey has been transformative, and through this chapter, I hope to share the insights, practices, and impacts it can have. Living in the present isn't just about ignoring the past or neglecting future plans. It's about anchoring yourself in the here and now, making each moment meaningful. I remember attending a mindfulness seminar where the speaker, a seasoned practitioner of Zendo, said something that stayed with me: "The present moment is all we ever truly have." His words resonated deeply, sparking my quest to understand and embrace this concept fully. One of the most practical steps I took was incorporating small mindfulness practices into my daily routine. I started with simple breathing exercises: inhale deeply, hold for a count, exhale slowly. Just focusing on my breath helped drown out the noise, pulling my scattered thoughts back to the present. Another effective exercise was mindful eating. Instead of rushing through meals, I began to savor each bite, noticing the flavors, textures, and aromas. It turned a mundane activity into a rich, sensory experience. Another pivotal moment was when I tried a meditation app recommended by a friend. I was skeptical at first, but the guided sessions were remarkably grounding. The focus was on being present without judgment, gentle reminders that it was okay for the mind to wander, but to gently steer it back to the now. These sessions became a cornerstone of my daily routine, offering me a moment to reset and recenter, no matter how chaotic the day was. Of course, this journey wasn't without its challenges. Breaking the habit of chronic distraction required concerted effort. I recall a particularly stressful day at work when deadlines were looming and my mind was racing ahead to the weekend. I felt a tight knot in my chest. Instead of letting the stress consume me, I paused, took a few deep breaths, and focused on the task at hand. Just by being fully present, I found unexpected clarity and productivity. One of the most striking changes was in my relationships. By being more present, I found myself truly listening to others, engaging in conversations without the usual mind wandering. It brought a richness to interactions that I hadn't experienced before. Friends and family noticed the difference, and our connections deepened. The impact of embracing the present moment extended to my creativity and problem-solving skills. Moments of presence often led to unexpected insights and a profound sense of inspiration. During a walk in the park, fully absorbed in the beauty around me, I found solutions to problems I'd been grappling with for days. It was as if the act of being present unlocked a new dimension of thinking. Living in the now also taught me to appreciate the little things: a warm cup of tea, the laughter of a loved one, the rustle of leaves in the wind. These moments, often overlooked in the hustle and bustle, became sources of immense joy and gratitude. They grounded me, offering a sanctuary of peace in a fast-paced world. As I stand at the threshold of greater understanding, I encourage you to take this journey with me. Begin with small steps. Take a deep breath, savor your meals, listen deeply, and most importantly, be kind to yourself in this process. Remember, each moment is a gift, an opportunity to experience life more fully. By embracing the power of now, we open ourselves to a richer, more fulfilling existence. Practicing mindful living. One ordinary morning, while sipping on my freshly brewed coffee, I realized how often my mind wandered into the trap of past regrets and future anxieties. It dawned on me how those thoughts had become unwelcome companions, robbing me of the precious moments in the present. I decided it was time to make a change, to learn the art of mindful living, and I began integrating mindfulness into my daily routine. My journey into mindfulness started with something simple: breathing. Every day, I would set aside a few minutes just to focus on my breath. Inhale slowly and imagine filling my lungs with serenity. Exhale, visualize all the stress and tension leaving my body. At first, my mind would wander, but with patience, I noticed my thoughts became clearer, and gradually, I became more centered, more present. One exercise that truly resonated with me was mindful walking. Instead of rushing to the bus stop or mindlessly strolling, I began to pay attention to every step. Feeling the ground beneath my feet, noticing the subtle movements in my body as I walked, and really seeing the world around me. The chirping of birds, the rustling leaves, all seemed to come alive. It was as if I had been sleepwalking through life and had finally woken up. Another critical strategy was mindful eating. I used to devour my meals while working, watching TV, or scrolling through my phone. But once I started practicing mindful eating, I found joy in the simplest of dishes. I began to savor each bite, appreciating the textures, flavors, and aromas. This practice not only made me more grateful, but also improved my relationship with food. Mindfulness extended into my relationships as well. I made a conscious effort to be fully present in conversations, really listening without planning my next response. This shift fostered deeper, more meaningful connections. I found that when I gave my full attention, people felt valued and heard. The real test came during stressful times at work. Deadlines were tight, and multitasking was the norm. Instead of letting the chaos overwhelm me, I took mindful pauses. Just a few moments to ground myself, clear the clutter, and proceed with a calm focus. It was during one such hectic day that I truly understood the power of mindfulness. It wasn't about eliminating stress, but managing it with a clear and present mind. To reinforce my practice, I turned to various sources, books, podcasts, and even attending a mindfulness seminar. Through these, I learned more techniques and the science behind mindfulness, which only strengthened my resolve. Yet, it wasn't all smooth sailing. There were days when I struggled, when my mind resisted the practice. But I reminded myself that mindfulness was a journey, not a destination, and continued to practice with compassion. As my dedication to mindfulness grew, I discovered a profound sense of balance and peace. My days seemed richer, my mind clearer, and my heart fuller. I realized that integrating mindfulness into daily life didn't require dramatic changes. It was about small, consistent practices that cultivated a conscious, centered approach to living. In sharing this with you, I hope to inspire you to embark on your own mindful journey. Start small, be patient with yourself, and remember that every moment is an opportunity to practice mindfulness. As you integrate these practices into your routine, you might just find, as I did, that the ordinary becomes extraordinary, and life, in all its facets, becomes a little more meaningful. Deepening your connection with the present moment. The sun barely kissed the horizon as I settled onto my yoga mat, the morning's tranquility seeping into my very bones. It was in moments like these that I felt the universe breathe alongside me. My journey towards mindfulness began not out of a desire for enlightenment, but from sheer necessity. Life had become fragmented, a whirlwind of responsibilities and deadlines, each tugging me away from the now. I remember vividly the turning point, a frantic afternoon where everything seemed to collapse on itself, urging me to seek an anchor in the present moment. Over the years, I've explored various techniques, each one adding a unique layer to my practice. One particularly profound method was the practice of body scanning. Sitting comfortably, I would close my eyes and direct my attention to different parts of my body, starting from my toes and gradually working my way up to the crown of my head. This simple act of noticing sensations, whether it was the tingle of my feet or the gentle rise and fall of my chest, anchored me firmly in the present. It's fascinating how something as straightforward as acknowledging the sensations in your own body can pull you into the now. Another tool that transformed my experience was mindful breathing. Initially, it was challenging to focus solely on my breath. My mind, ever the restless wanderer, would dart from thought to thought. But with time and patience, I discovered the richness in each inhalation and exhalation. I began to appreciate the way air fills up my lungs, the slight pause at the top of my breath, and the gentle release as I exhale. It's in this rhythmic dance of breathing that I found a profound sense of presence. One weekend, during a silent retreat, I encountered walking meditation. At first, the idea seemed counterintuitive. How could walking, an act so habitual and automatic, offer any semblance of mindfulness? But as I stepped gently, feeling the ground beneath my feet, noticing the way my muscles coordinated in perfect harmony, something shifted. Each step became a precious moment, a reminder that life unfolds in the simplest of actions. I walked, not with a destination in mind, but with an awareness of each movement, each sensation. Mindfulness isn't only about sitting in meditation or engaging in specific exercises. It's about integrating presence into everyday moments. Take, for example, washing dishes. Rather than rushing through, eager to complete the chore, I started to immerse myself fully. I felt the warm water cascading over my hands, the slickness of the soap, and the squeak of a clean plate. Such small, seemingly mundane actions turned into opportunities for mindfulness, bringing a palpable sense of calm and pleasure into my routine. Of course, life isn't always serene. Distractions are plentiful, and the pull of the past and future can be overwhelming. But rather than resisting these distractions, I've learned to acknowledge them, gently steering my attention back to the present. It's not about perfection, but persistence. There are days when my mind is a storm of thoughts, and sitting still feels impossible. On those days, I remind myself that mindfulness is a journey, not a destination. As the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in shades of lavender and peach, I concluded my practice with a deep sense of gratitude. The present moment is all we truly have, a fleeting yet infinite space where life happens. By deepening our connection with now, we unlock a wellspring of peace, joy, and profound clarity. It's a practice that requires patience and commitment, but the rewards are immeasurable. As I rolled up my yoga mat, I felt a renewed sense of purpose and presence, ready to embrace the unfolding of life, one mindful moment at a time. Chapter 9. Overcoming Mental Blocks and Obstacles. Identifying and addressing mental blocks. In my years of navigating through the labyrinth of life, I've often encountered those invisible barriers that seem to spring up from nowhere. You've probably faced them too. One moment you're cruising along, and the next, you hit a wall, figuratively, of course, something that halts your progress and leaves you feeling inexplicably stuck. As I recount my own experiences and share the wisdom gleaned from others, I hope to shed light on how to identify these mental blocks and effectively dismantle them. Let's start with a personal anecdote. I vividly remember the time I struggled to complete a novel that was dear to my heart. No matter how hard I tried, I couldn't move past a certain chapter. I would stare at the blank page, my mind as empty as the screen before me. This wasn't just writer's block, it felt like a deeper, more insidious kind of paralysis. Recognizing mental blocks goes beyond acknowledging their presence. It's about understanding their roots. For me, it was the fear of not living up to my own expectations. For others, it might be a fear of failure, perfectionism, or even past traumas. One of the first steps in overcoming these blocks is self-awareness. I began to keep a journal, noting down every time I felt stuck. Patterns emerged. I realized that my blocks often coincided with moments of self-doubt or overwhelming pressure. The act of writing these observations was therapeutic and illuminating. It's essential to ask yourself, when do I feel the most stuck? What am I afraid of? Turning these reflections into a habit can provide clarity and perspective. Another technique that proved invaluable was seeking external feedback. Sharing my struggles with close friends or a mentor gave me fresh insights. They often saw things I couldn't, illuminating blind spots that hindered my progress. These conversations reminded me that I wasn't alone in my struggles. Humans are inherently social creatures, and it's crucial to lean on your support network when tackling mental obstacles. Consider practical strategies to address these blocks. Visualizing success, breaking down tasks into manageable pieces, and setting realistic goals can make a world of difference. For instance, whenever I felt overwhelmed by the scope of my novel, I broke it down, scene by scene, chapter by chapter, until the daunting task felt achievable. Perfectionism is another common culprit. I found solace in the mantra, "Done is better than perfect." Allow yourself to make mistakes. Embrace imperfection as a part of the creative process and life in general. Lastly, consider the role of physical well-being. Often, mental blocks are exacerbated by poor health habits. Regular exercise, adequate sleep, and a balanced diet have a profound impact on our mental state. During my most challenging times, I found that a simple walk in the park or a quick workout session rejuvenated my mind, making the blocks seem less insurmountable. Our minds and bodies are intricately connected. Neglect one, and the other suffers. As I finish writing this, I'm reminded of the old adage that knowing is half the battle. Identifying and addressing mental blocks is a continuous journey, one that requires patience, persistence, and a bit of self-compassion. Embrace the journey and trust that each step you take brings you closer to overcoming these barriers. The path may be winding and fraught with challenges, but remember, every block can be broken, every wall can be scaled. Keep moving forward, and you'll find your way. Developing strategies for overcoming challenges. One crisp morning, I found myself facing a mountain of unpaid bills, looming deadlines, and a car that stubbornly refused to start. It seemed life had conspired to throw everything at me simultaneously. We've all been there, haven't we? Standing at the crossroads of chaos and uncertainty, wondering how on earth we'll navigate the storm. My first instinct was to panic, to let the wave of anxiety wash over me. But then, I remembered something a wise mentor once shared. "Break it down," she said. "Every monumental task is just a series of small steps." It was simple advice, but immensely powerful. I grabbed a notepad and began listing my problems. Seeing them on paper made them less menacing, more manageable. That's where it started, the process of problem solving. Effective problem solving isn't an innate talent, but a skill honed through practice. Imagine each challenge as a puzzle needing assembly. The first step is to identify the pieces, the fundamental components of your issue. Once they're clear, brainstorming possible solutions becomes not only feasible, but almost enjoyable. Take, for example, my car trouble. Instead of fretting about how I'd get to work, I identified the issue, the car battery. A quick search revealed a nearby auto shop that offered a jump-start service. One call and a short wait later, I was on my way. The larger problem of all my transport worries was reduced to a smaller, solvable problem. Breaking it down is like shining a light on what seemed an impenetrable fog. Resilience is another crucial tool in our arsenal. My grandmother, a woman who lived through the Great Depression, always spoke of resilience as the rubber band quality, the ability to stretch without breaking and bounce back even after extreme stress. Developing resilience starts with self-compassion. It's recognizing that setbacks are not the end, but merely a bend in the road. To build resilience, I began incorporating small daily practices. Meditation helped center my thoughts, and regular exercise provided a physical outlet for my stress. More importantly, I made it a point to reflect on past victories. Remembering moments when I'd tackled difficulties successfully gave me the confidence to believe I could do it again. Another strategy that has proven invaluable is seeking support. This might sound counterintuitive in an age where independence is often glorified, but recognizing when to lean on others is a strength, not a weakness. I reached out to friends and colleagues, not to unload my burdens, but to gain fresh perspectives. Often, others can see solutions that we, in our embroiled state, cannot. A friend's suggestion to use public transport until my car issues were fully resolved seemed so simple, yet it eluded me. As we navigate life's myriad hurdles, remember that challenges are as much about the journey as the outcome. They are opportunities in disguise, shaping our character and forging our path. Each technique, breaking down problems, building resilience, and seeking support, is a step towards not just overcoming but thriving despite adversity. The morning turned into a vivacious dance of solving one problem after another, the rhythm driving me forward, each resolved issue a note of victory. By day's end, exhaustion was accompanied by a sense of achievement. Life hadn't become easier. I had become stronger, more capable of facing whatever lay ahead. So, as you confront your own challenges, arm yourself with these strategies. Embrace every obstacle as a testament to your resilience, a chapter in your story of triumph. With each hurdle, you are not only solving problems, but writing a legacy of perseverance and strength. Shifting your perspective in difficult situations. I remember one particularly daunting project at work a few years back. My team was understaffed, resources were thin, and the deadline loomed like a storm cloud ready to burst. Initially, I felt hopelessly overwhelmed. However, I realized that the outcome of this project could be decided not just by the circumstances, but by the mindset I chose to adopt. The first insight I stumbled upon was the power of reframing the situation. Instead of viewing the enormous workload as an insurmountable obstacle, I began to see it as an opportunity to innovate. By focusing on creativity rather than constraints, I found new ways to delegate tasks and optimize our processes. Suddenly, the challenge started morphing into a manageable, even exciting, puzzle. Research supports the power of perspective. According to a study from the Journal of Positive Psychology, individuals who practice cognitive reframing report higher levels of resilience and lower levels of stress. This doesn't mean ignoring the difficulties, but rather viewing them through a different lens. One practical tool is to ask yourself, what can I learn from this experience? Shifting from an adversarial view to a growth mindset can fundamentally alter your experience. In moments of crisis, it's natural to focus on the negative. Our brains are wired to prioritize threats. However, if we consciously scan for positives, we can always find a silver lining. Take, for example, the time I started an ambitious fitness regimen. My initial setbacks were frustrating: sore muscles, slow progress, and frequent self-doubt. Instead of fixating on these stumbling blocks, I started appreciating small victories: increased stamina, better mood, a sense of achievement. Eventually, those minor triumphs accumulated into major progress. Diverse perspectives also serve as invaluable resources. Leaning on friends or colleagues for their viewpoints can illuminate aspects of a situation you might have missed. When my workload became particularly intense, a coworker suggested a time management technique that I had never considered before. Implementing their advice made a significant difference, demonstrating the benefits of reaching out and changing viewpoints through collaboration. The how of shifting your perspective often boils down to actionable steps. Start with mindfulness and self-awareness. Being conscious of your initial reactions and judgments can provide the space to alter them. Journaling can be another powerful tool. Writing down your thoughts, feelings, and interpretations allows you to reflect and, if necessary, reframe them. Additionally, setting aside regular positive reflection sessions can gradually train your brain to identify beneficial aspects automatically. As the project deadline approached, my team and I were still grappling with issues, but our collective mindset had shifted. We started seeing each minor problem not as a roadblock, but as an opportunity for improvement. The once dreaded deadline day came and went, leaving us with not just a successfully completed project, but a stronger, more cohesive team. Reflecting on that experience taught me more than just the value of a completed project. It reinforced the belief that while we can't always control our circumstances, we can always control our perspective. And sometimes, a shift in mindset is all you need to turn potential failure into resounding success. Chapter 10: Nurturing a Positive and Empowered Mindset. Embracing gratitude and appreciation. Sitting by the window on a rainy afternoon, I found myself reflecting on my life's journey. I've had my fair share of ups and downs, moments of triumph and instances of despair. But it wasn't until I started embracing the habit of gratitude that I truly began to see life through a different lens. The power of gratitude, I realized, is like a warm blanket on a cold day. It wraps you in comfort, no matter how harsh the world outside may seem. One of the most poignant memories I have is from a time when I felt utterly defeated. It was shortly after I had been laid off from a job I loved. I remember coming home, feeling the weight of the world on my shoulders. My wife, seeing my despair, handed me a small, leather-bound journal and said, "Write down 3 things you're grateful for every day." In that moment, her suggestion seemed almost laughable. How could jotting down a few words make any difference to my overwhelming situation? Yet, I took her advice. Every evening, I sat down and wrote about the little things. A stranger's smile, a delicious home-cooked meal, the sound of birds singing outside my window. Gradually, something amazing began to happen. The act of focusing on the positives, however minor they seemed, started to shift my mindset. I began to notice more of the good around me and less of the bad. My days, once cloaked in darkness, started to brighten with flecks of light. Diving deeper into this practice, I discovered that there is a wealth of research supporting the transformative effects of gratitude. Studies have shown that regularly expressing gratitude can lead to improved mental and physical well-being. It can enhance your mood, boost your immune system, and even help you foster stronger relationships. It's as if gratitude rewires your brain to recognize and appreciate the positivity already present in your life, thus attracting more of it. One profound exercise I came across is the gratitude letter. The idea is simple but impactful. Think of someone who has positively impacted your life, and write them a heartfelt letter expressing your appreciation. Not only does this exercise help you cultivate gratitude, but it also spreads joy and strengthens bonds. I remember writing my first gratitude letter to an old mentor who had guided me during my early career. The act of expressing my appreciation in writing brought back fond memories and reminded me of the valuable lessons I'd learned from him. Upon receiving the letter, he called me, his voice choked with emotion. That moment of connection, born out of gratitude, was profoundly fulfilling for both of us. Another practical approach is to keep a gratitude jar. Every time something positive happens, jot it down on a piece of paper and put it in the jar. Over time, you'll accumulate a collection of uplifting moments that you can revisit anytime you need a pick-me-up. It's a tangible reminder of the good in your life, providing a reservoir of joy that you can dip into when times get tough. However, embracing gratitude doesn't mean ignoring life's challenges. It's about finding a balance and acknowledging that positivity can coexist with difficulty. It's a tool, not a panacea. And like any tool, its efficacy depends on how you wield it. There are days when finding something to be grateful for feels like searching for a needle in a haystack, but even the act of searching can change your focus and, eventually, your experience. My personal journey with gratitude has taught me that it's more than just a feel-good exercise. It's a profound shift in perspective. By recognizing and appreciating the good in our lives, no matter how small, we create a fertile ground for joy, resilience, and meaningful connections to grow. It's a continuous practice, like tending to a garden, requiring patience, persistence, and an open heart.
Fostering à résiliatitude.
It was one of those mornings where the sky seemed to drape itself in a stubborn gray, casting a muted light that made everything appear slightly duller. I sat at my kitchen table, cradling a cup of coffee, thinking about the obstacles that had shaped my journey. They were never easy to overcome, and to be honest, there were moments when giving up seemed incredibly tempting. But something shifted in me, an intangible change that made resilience not just a word in my vocabulary, but a vital essence of my being. Building mental toughness doesn't happen overnight. It's a gradual process, like layering bricks to construct a fortress. One of the first steps I took was redefining failure. Instead of seeing it as a terminal endpoint, I began to view it as a detour, a chance to learn, adjust, and try again. I remember vividly the sting of my first major professional setback. It was humiliating, disheartening, and at the time, felt like the end of the road. I spent days wallowing, but then something inside me shifted. I decided to understand what went wrong, to dissect the experience with clinical precision, and learn everything I could from it. Embracing a positive outlook in the face of adversity is also crucial. There will always be events beyond our control, people who disappoint us, or outcomes that don't align with our expectations. When my plans fall apart, I find solace in gratitude. It sounds cliched, but there's immense power in focusing on what's good, even when life is throwing curveballs. I began keeping a gratitude journal, jotting down 3 things I was thankful for each day. It shifted my perspective, shedding light on overlooked positives even during tough times. Equally important is the support system we surround ourselves with. During challenging periods, the strength and encouragement of friends, family, or mentors can act as a lifeline. I recall a time when I was profoundly disheartened by a failed project, and it was a late-night conversation with a close friend that reignited my spark. She reminded me of my past successes, reinforcing the notion that one failure did not diminish my worth. Her words were a catalyst, helping me rise from the ashes more determined than before. As I sit here today, reflecting on my journey, I can confidently say that fostering a resilient attitude has been pivotal. It's about constantly redefining what challenges mean to us, maintaining a positive outlook, and leaning on our support system. The road isn't always smooth, but with resilience, we can navigate it with courage and grace.
Cultivating à solution-oriented mindset.
I remember a time when everything seemed to go wrong all at once. My projects were faltering, personal life was unraveling, and any semblance of control felt like sand slipping through my fingers. We've all been there, haven't we? That feeling of helplessness that makes problems seem insurmountable. But what if I told you that the key to overcoming such hurdles is to shift your focus from the problem itself to its possible solutions? Picture this. A few years ago, I was leading a critical project that came to a grinding halt due to unforeseen complications. My team looked at me with worried eyes, expecting guidance. Initially, I felt the pressure, the weight of what could go wrong stacking up in my mind like a precarious tower. But then I took a deep breath and asked myself, what's the first step towards fixing this? Instead of drowning in the problem, I began breaking it down, looking for ways to navigate through the hurdles. One of the pivotal insights I've gained through both personal experience and extensive research is the importance of reorienting your mind. It's relatively easy to get lost in the labyrinth of issues, but the real challenge lies in flipping the narrative, essentially, training your brain to spend more time on solutions than problems. This isn't just fluff. Neuroscience backs it. When you focus on solutions, your brain lights up with creative potential, much like a beacon guiding you through the storm. Taking a proactive approach entails viewing challenges as opportunities for growth rather than threats. I recall reading about top athletes who face near-impossible physical and mental hurdles. Their secret?
À Relentle, solution-focused mindset.
Instead of lamenting a missed goal, they ask, how can I refine my technique? This mentality doesn't just apply to sports, but to life in general. So, how can you cultivate this mindset in your daily life? Start small. Next time you encounter a problem, be it minor, like a misplaced item, or major, like a career setback, train yourself to ask questions oriented toward solutions. It could be as simple as listing 3 possible actions you can take. I find writing them down helps clarify my thoughts and makes the options feel more tangible. Let me give you another practical example. During a particularly chaotic week, I learned that instead of spiraling into a vortex of stress over the growing to-do list, I could focus on actionable steps. By segmenting tasks and tackling them one at a time, I turned an overwhelming situation into a series of manageable actions. This mindset didn't just dissolve my anxiety, it also boosted my productivity. As you practice this shift, you may encounter resistance, both from within and from others accustomed to a problem-focused mindset. Bucking this trend requires perseverance and, perhaps more importantly, compassion for yourself. It's not about being perfect, but progressively steering your thoughts in a more solution-centric direction. The road to a solutions-oriented mindset isn't devoid of obstacles, but it's paved with the promise of resilience and capability. Imagine navigating a ship in rough seas. Focusing on the enormity of waves threatens to capsize your resolve, but fixating on navigating those waves? That's what keeps you afloat. As you continue to nurture this mindset, challenges morph into puzzles waiting to be solved, and slowly but surely, you become the adept navigator of your life's journey. The next time a challenge arises, and believe me, it will, I implore you to ask yourself not just why is this happening, but how can I move forward? It's in this rephrasing that you'll find your power, your path, and inevitably, your solutions. Chapter 11. The Psychology of Habit Formation. Understanding the Science of Habits. I still remember the day I realized that habits were more than just routines, they were the building blocks of our lives. It was a small revelation during a mundane moment, but it transformed how I viewed my own actions and decisions. In that instant, I understood that our brains are wired to form habits as a way to save energy for more complex tasks. This understanding was liberating, yet daunting. At the core of habit formation lies the habit loop, a concept brought to light by Charles Duhigg in his book The Power of Habit. The loop consists of three elements: the cue, the routine, and the reward. Picture this. Every morning, you feel a slight hunger pang, cue, you grab a donut from the kitchen, routine, and you savor the sweet taste, reward. Over time, your brain begins to crave that reward, solidifying the habit loop. Research by neurologists has shown that habits are etched into our brains, specifically within the basal ganglia, an area crucial for memory and pattern recognition. Even if you consciously decide to change, your brain may resist, as it favors the comfort of established routines. I've faced this resistance countless times, whether trying to eat healthier or read more books. The struggle is real, but understanding the neurological basis gives us the tools to combat it. One of the most effective methods to create and sustain beneficial habits is the implementation of tiny habits, a strategy advocated by Dr. B.J. Fogg. Tiny habits are small, manageable actions that, over time, lead to significant change. For instance, if you wish to start exercising, begin with just 2 push-ups a day. This small victory builds confidence and gradually ingrains the exercise routine into your daily life. Another powerful technique is habit stacking, a term coined by James Clear in Atomic Habits. This involves linking a new habit to an existing one. Let's say you want to meditate. Identify a routine you already follow, like brushing your teeth, and then meditate immediately after. The existing habit acts as a cue, making it easier to integrate the new practice. However, sustaining these habits requires resilience and a strong why. I found that connecting habits to personal values and long-term goals fortifies my commitment. For instance, the habit of journaling each night isn't just about writing. It's about reflecting on my day and ensuring I'm aligned with my deeper aspirations. The journey of understanding and altering habits is akin to a dance, a mixture of steps forward and occasional missteps. Each small victory fuels motivation, while setbacks offer lessons. The key is persistence and patience. Realizing this transformed my approach entirely. I became more forgiving of my missteps and more focused on the bigger picture. As we delve deeper into the science and practicalities of habits, remember that every action we take is a vote for the person we wish to become. With understanding and intention, we wield the power to sculpt our lives. What's one small habit you can start today that aligns with your vision for the future? Creating sustainable habits for success. When I first embarked on my personal development journey, the concept of habits seemed elusive and somewhat daunting. It felt like setting 100 goals and trying to juggle them all at once, inevitably leading to burnout. I wanted to establish routines that not only propelled me towards my long-term goals, but also felt manageable and natural. Through trial and error, I stumbled upon a simple yet profound realization. Sustainable habits are the bedrock of any lasting success. The framework I discovered revolves around identifying small, actionable steps and gradually building them into your daily routine. The first step is clarity, understanding exactly what you aim to achieve and why it's important to you. It's like planting a seed. A well-defined purpose acts as the sunlight that encourages growth. I remember wanting to read more books to expand my knowledge base, but rather than committing to an hour of reading each day from the get-go, I started with just 10 minutes before bed. Those 10 minutes felt manageable and slowly evolved into a cherished nightly ritual. Another critical aspect is consistency. Consistency is the water that nurtures your habit seedling. The key is to integrate these small actions into your daily life in a way that feels almost effortless. Think about brushing your teeth. It's such a well-embedded habit that you don't think twice about it. Similarly, I integrated a brief morning meditation into my routine by anchoring it to an existing habit, drinking my first cup of coffee. This made the practice feel natural and less like an additional task. Reward and reflection are also indispensable pieces of the puzzle. Celebrating small wins keeps the momentum going and affirms the progress you've made, while reflection allows for necessary adjustments. There were times when my reading habit faced hurdles, a particularly busy day or unexpected events, but instead of viewing these as failures, I saw them as opportunities to reassess my approach. Sometimes, I would switch to audiobooks, making it easier to fit reading into my schedule. The journey of creating sustainable habits is deeply personal and uniquely yours. What works for me may not resonate with you, and that's perfectly okay. The essence lies in starting small, staying consistent, and being kind to yourself through the process. Over time, these habits won't just align with your long-term goals, they'll become a part of who you are, guiding you naturally towards the success you envision. Breaking free from destructive patterns. Have you ever found yourself stumbling over the same metaphorical rock, over and over again? I certainly have. It was as if I had a magnet in my shoe that unerringly located every single obstacle in my path, resulting in frustration, self-doubt, and a cycle of negative thoughts. Destructive behaviors had become my unwelcome companions, and breaking free seemed a distant dream. One pivotal moment stood out for me. I remember vividly sitting in my cramped apartment, surrounded by chaos. Dishes were piled in the sink, abandoned projects scattered across the room, resembling my disarrayed mind. It hit me then, hard as a freight train, something had to change. But the question remained, how? It starts with awareness. Recognizing the patterns that lead to destructive behavior is a crucial first step. Take a moment, grab a journal if you want, and jot down the areas in your life where things seem to spiral out of control. For me, it was procrastination, toxic relationships, and a lack of self-care. Seeing these words in black and white can be an eye-opener. An effective strategy one learned involves the concept of habit loops. A habit loop consists of a cue, routine, and reward. For example, feeling stressed, cue, might lead to binge-watching TV, routine, because it temporarily disconnects you from stress, reward. To break this cycle, it's vital to identify healthier substitutes. When I sensed stress creeping in, I chose to go for a walk or call a friend instead. Over time, These small shifts made a monumental difference. Another powerful technique is cognitive restructuring, a fancy term for changing the way you think. Often, destructive behaviors are fueled by negative self-talk and limiting beliefs. By challenging these thoughts and reframing them, you can break free from their grip. When I caught myself thinking, "I'll never get this right," I made a conscious effort to rephrase it to, "I may not get it right now, but I will with practice." Support systems play an indispensable role too. I reached out to friends who were not only supportive, but honest. Accountability became my anchor. When you vocalize your goals and challenges, you create a safety net that catches you when you falter. It's amazing what a difference it makes when someone you trust believes in your potential. Breaking free from destructive patterns doesn't happen overnight. It's a journey paved with persistence, self-compassion, and resilience. Celebrate small victories and forgive yourself for setbacks. Each day is an opportunity to reinforce the new, healthier routines. Reflecting on my journey, I realize how much stronger and more in control I feel. My apartment is still cramped, but it's a sanctuary now, a testament to the power of change. The tension mounts not in the fear of the struggle, but in the anticipation of the breakthrough. What if this time, the change sticks? Imagine the possibilities. The path to breaking free is not just about eliminating the negative, but about making room for the positive. You, too, can step beyond those same old rocks. Your journey to freedom starts now. Chapter 12. Thriving in the Face of Adversity. Embracing change and uncertainty. Change is an inevitable part of life, yet so many of us find it daunting, even paralyzing. I've been there myself, teetering on the edge of a significant shift, my mind awash with what-ifs and worst-case scenarios. But over time, I've come to understand that the ability to adapt gracefully to change is not an inherent talent, but a learned skill, one that can be cultivated with intention and practice. I remember facing one of the biggest changes in my life, a sudden relocation for a job opportunity. The discomfort of the unknown gnawed at me. My mind raced with questions. Would I adjust to a new city? Make new friends? Find my way in a different work culture? My first instinct was to resist, to cling to the familiar, but deep down, I knew this was an opportunity for growth. So, I decided to pivot my mindset. The first step I took was embracing a sense of curiosity. Instead of viewing the relocation as an inconvenience, I began seeing it as a chance to explore a new environment. I researched local attractions, reached out to potential new colleagues before the move, and even started learning a bit about the regional culture. This shift in perspective transformed my anxiety into anticipation. This mindset shift is supported by psychological research, which suggests that curiosity can significantly reduce fear and anxiety associated with change. Another technique that proved invaluable was building a routine, even amidst chaos. When everything around me was in flux, establishing small, consistent habits, like a morning walk or a nightly journaling session, provided a comforting anchor. These routines offered a sense of stability and normalcy, making the larger changes feel less overwhelming. It's a strategy recommended by many experts and has been shown to help people build resilience and foster a sense of control. Mentorship also played a critical role in my adaptation process. Seeking advice and wisdom from those who had navigated similar transitions before me turned out to be incredibly empowering. I reached out to a former colleague who had relocated multiple times within his career. His insights helped demystify the process and offered practical advice, making the transition feel more manageable. For anyone facing uncertainty, it's essential to remember that you don't have to go it alone. There's immense value in leveraging the experience and support of others. The most pivotal lesson, however, was accepting that uncertainty is a fundamental aspect of life. Rather than trying to predict and control every variable, I began to focus on what I could influence. This shift not only reduced my stress, but also opened me up to unexpected opportunities and experiences that I might have otherwise overlooked. It's about finding balance, planning what you can, and being open to the rest. As I settled into my new city and adjusted to my new role, I realized that each step outside my comfort zone had strengthened my ability to adapt. What initially seemed like an insurmountable challenge became a series of manageable actions, each one building on the last. I learned that embracing change and uncertainty isn't about eliminating fear, but about cultivating the confidence to face it head-on. This journey taught me resilience, an invaluable asset in an ever-changing world. In the end, change is not something to be feared, but an opportunity for transformation. With the right mindset and tools, we can navigate uncertainty with grace and confidence, turning potential obstacles into growth opportunities. Remember, within the uncertainty lies the potential for growth, discovery, and personal evolution. And it all starts with a single, courageous step forward. Adapting to challenges with grace. The world has an uncanny way of throwing curveballs when you least expect it. I've often found myself in situations where the ground beneath my feet seemed to crumble. It wasn't the challenges themselves that were daunting, but rather how I responded to them. Over the years, I've come to understand that it's not about avoiding difficulties, but rather about adapting to them with grace. It's a delicate dance of maintaining composure and finding inner strength amidst the chaos. I remember a particular time when I faced a career setback. I had spent months preparing for a promotion, only to see it slip away to a peer. Initially, my emotions were a cocktail of frustration and disappointment. But I knew that stewing in negativity would only make things worse. I decided to take a step back and reassess. While it was tempting to hide away, I chose to reach out to my mentor. Through our conversations, I learned the importance of perspective. What seemed like a loss was actually an opportunity to refine my skills and build resilience. Instead of dwelling on what could have been, I focused on what could be, channeling my energy into personal growth. One of the most important lessons I've learned is the power of composure. Maintaining a calm demeanor doesn't mean suppressing emotions, it means navigating them wisely. Take a deep breath, center yourself, and then approach the problem. When faced with adversity, it's crucial to keep a clear head. Emotions can cloud judgment, but a balanced mind can see solutions where others see only obstacles. I've found mindfulness practices like meditation and deep breathing exercises to be invaluable in these moments. It's incredible how a few minutes of calm can recalibrate my entire day. Another aspect is drawing strength from within. It's easy to feel powerless in challenging times, but I've discovered that strength is often found in the most unexpected places. For instance, a friend of mine went through a severe health crisis. Throughout her ordeal, she maintained a remarkable sense of optimism. Her secret? Focusing on the small victories. Each day she completed a simple task, be it walking a few steps or reading a book, she celebrated it as a triumph. This mindset not only helped her recover faster, but also kept her spirits high. It's a testament to finding power in the day-to-day, recognizing that every small step forward is a stride towards overcoming hardship. Practicality also has its place in the art of graceful adaptation. Making a plan can provide a sense of control in uncontrollable situations. When I was struggling with a personal issue, I created a step-by-step plan to address it. Breaking down the problem into manageable steps made it less intimidating. This methodical approach allowed me to tackle each part with confidence, and soon, what seemed insurmountable was resolved. In difficult times, it's also essential to reach out for support. Don't hesitate to lean on loved ones or seek professional advice. During another challenging period, therapy provided me a safe space to express my fears and find constructive ways to handle them. It's a reminder that asking for help is a sign of strength, not weakness. It's about recognizing the communal aspect of human experience. We're not meant to navigate life's challenges alone. To sum it up, adapting to challenges with grace is about perspective, composure, inner strength, practicality, and support. Whether you're facing a minor setback or a significant life-altering event, these strategies can help you navigate the storm with dignity and poise. Remember, it's not the challenge itself that defines us, but how we choose to respond to it. Keep your head up and your heart strong, and let each challenge be a stepping stone to your growth. As I reflect on these experiences, I'm constantly reminded of the resilience we all possess. Life may not always go as planned, but every challenge is an opportunity to become a stronger, more composed version of ourselves. Face each one with grace, not just for the sake of overcoming it, but to emerge from it wiser and more resilient than before. Finding strength in resilience. In the span of our lives, adversity is not a question of if, but a question of when. I remember a pivotal moment when I was faced with what seemed like insurmountable obstacles. My job, which I had poured my heart and soul into, was abruptly cut short due to downsizing. With bills piling up and the future uncertain, panic set in. But it was in this crucible that I discovered an inner reservoir of strength I hadn't known existed. This chapter is about how we can all tap into that wellspring of resilience within us. Resilience isn't an inborn trait, it's something we can all learn and develop. One practical method I found incredibly helpful is the practice of mindfulness. During my darkest days, I carved out just 10 minutes each morning to sit in quiet reflection, focusing on my breath and gently pushing away any intruding thoughts. This simple practice built a fortress of calm in my mind, allowing me to face the day's challenges with a clear head. Research supports this, showing that mindfulness can significantly reduce stress and increase emotional stability. Another crucial aspect of resilience is the power of perspective. When we're in the thick of adversity, it's easy to get bogged down by the negativity. I learned to actively reframe my situation. Instead of seeing it as a career-ending setback, I started viewing it as an opportunity for growth and exploration. This wasn't just blind optimism, it was a strategic pivot. I took the time to list down all the skills I had amassed over the years and began exploring fields where I could apply them. The simple act of shifting perspective transformed despair into a sense of possibility. But perhaps the most profound lesson I gleaned was the importance of connection. During tough times, the instinct to withdraw can be overwhelming. I was fortunate to have a supportive network of friends and family who refused to let me spiral into isolation. They offered not just emotional support, but practical help, like editing my resumes or connecting me with potential employers. Don't underestimate the strength that comes from leaning on others. Studies have shown that social support is a key factor in fostering resilience. One late evening, I was deep in conversation with my best friend who shared her own struggles and triumphant return. It was an epiphany. We're all in this together, and sharing our stories creates a collective resilience. Her success story fueled my determination, and I resolved to pay it forward. I began volunteering at a local community center, helping others who were grappling with their own challenges. This act of giving not only fortified my own resilience, but also created a ripple effect of positivity and support. Adversity is not a detour, it's part of the journey. The path to resilience is paved with mindfulness, perspective, and connection. Embrace the challenges as they come, and remember, the strength you seek is already within you, waiting to be discovered. Chapter 13. Harnessing the Power of Intuition. Listening to your inner voice. There was a time when I stood at a crossroads, the choices ahead of me vast and daunting. I remember sitting in a quiet corner of a bustling cafe, staring blankly at my laptop screen, overwhelmed by the seemingly endless possibilities. It felt like an insurmountable task to choose just one path. But something changed that day. A whisper, so faint it was almost lost amidst the clatter of cups and soft hum of conversation, echoed in my mind. Trust yourself. It wasn't an epiphany that struck like lightning. No, it was more like a gentle nudge, an inner voice that had been there all along, just waiting for me to listen. That whisper was the catalyst for transforming indecision into clarity. I began honing my ability to tune into that inner wisdom, a practice that has since become a guiding principle in my life. Trusting your intuition is an art as much as it is a skill. It's not about ignoring logic or dismissing facts. It's about integrating these elements with the subtle insights only your inner voice can provide. Your intuition is like a compass. It might not give you the whole map, but it will point you in the right direction. And in those moments when decisions seem paralyzing, that direction is invaluable. One practical way I've learned to tap into my intuition is by creating moments of stillness within my day. It could be as simple as taking a few deep breaths before making a significant decision or spending quiet time in nature, away from distractions. These pauses enable me to listen beyond the noise, to sense what feels right rather than what merely seems right. On a particularly stressful day at work, I was tasked with deciding whether to take on a new project that promised impressive results but demanded a significant time commitment. My colleagues were divided, the pros and cons like scales balanced precisely in the middle. Amidst the chaos, I closed my eyes and took those deep breaths. And there it was again, that gentle yet persistent whisper urging me to consider my own capacity and well-being. With new clarity, I realized that while the project was tempting, it wasn't aligned with my current priorities. Declining it felt counterintuitive to ambition, but entirely true to my inner compass. In the end, my decision not only fostered a sense of peace, but opened the door to unexpected opportunities more congruent with my goals. If you're wondering how to differentiate between your inner voice and the myriad of thoughts constantly vying for your attention, remember this. Intuition is often calm and non-judgmental. It isn't driven by fear or anxiety. Instead, it feels like an inner knowing, a sense of conviction that lacks the urgency of a reactive mind. Sometimes, your intuition manifests in physical sensations or emotions that arise unexpectedly. Maybe it's the unease that tells you something is off or the sudden calm that reassures you of a choice well made. Paying attention to these cues can provide guidance when logic alone falls short. As you practice listening and trusting your inner voice, you'll start noticing patterns. Moments when it led you to decisions that, in hindsight, were undeniably right. Every instance reinforces your confidence, transforming trust into second nature. It becomes a symbiotic relationship. The more you listen, the clearer the voice, the easier the decisions. In the end, following your intuition isn't about eschewing rational thought, but harmonizing it with a deeper understanding of yourself. It's about cultivating a relationship with your inner guidance system, one built on trust and mutual respect. So next time you find yourself at a crossroads, take a moment. Breathe. Listen. Your inner voice is there, ready to guide you, if only you'd let it. Developing intuitive decision-making skills. When I first began exploring the depths of intuitive decision-making, I found myself tangled in a web of overthinking and second-guessing. I'd stumble upon a choice and freeze, paralyzed by a myriad of what-ifs. It wasn't until I recognized that intuition, our internal compass, can be nurtured and honed that things began to shift. Think back to a moment when you made a snap decision that turned out perfectly. Maybe it was a sudden urge to take a different route home, only to avoid a gruesome traffic jam. Or perhaps a spontaneous bid in an auction that landed you a hidden gem. These aren't mere coincidences. These moments showcase the brilliance of our intuitive mind at work. One practical exercise I've found immensely helpful is the 30-second rule. When faced with a decision, give yourself 30 seconds to feel through the options. Don't analyze or rationalize. Simply listen to what your gut is telling you. Close your eyes, take a deep breath, and notice where you feel pulled. This practice not only elevates your intuitive muscle, but also builds trust in your immediate responses. For instance, I remember an ordinary day when I was at a farmer's market. I had a choice between two stalls selling strawberries. Normally, I would assess the visual appeal, price, and perhaps even sample a berry or two from each. But this time, I decided to try the 30-second rule. After a moment's pause, I felt drawn to the stall on the left. As I handed over my money, the vendor smiled and tossed an extra basket into my bag with a wink. Neither the appeal nor the pricing hinted at this act of generosity, but my gut instinct had led me to an unexpected delight. Another exercise is journaling your intuitive hits and misses. Start with a small notebook. Every time you make an intuitive decision, whether it's choosing a restaurant or deciding to call a friend, jot it down. Note how it felt in the moment, the decision's outcome, and reflect on these entries at the end of each week. Over time, patterns will emerge that reinforce your intuitive prowess. I once had a friend who was skeptical about the power of intuition. She kept a similar journal, and within a month, she found her initial hesitance had morphed into a quiet confidence. Her small, intuitive decisions, like picking a random book from a shelf, led her to insights she'd never have stumbled upon otherwise. Slowly, she realized that her gut was her greatest ally in navigating life's complexities. Developing intuitive decision-making skills is an ongoing journey. It demands patience, practice, and an openness to self-discovery. Next time you're faced with a fork in the road, try leaning into these exercises. Soon, you'll find yourself making decisions with a clarity and confidence that's deeply rooted in your own internal wisdom. And remember, with intuition as your guide, even the smallest choices can lead to extraordinary outcomes. Trusting your gut instincts. Sometimes, in moments of uncertainty, I find myself paralyzed by the sheer number of choices available. It's in these exact moments that I've learned to tune into my gut instincts. You know, that quiet, almost imperceptible voice that says, "This is the way to go." Over time, I've discovered that listening to this inner compass has steered me towards choices that resonate deeply with who I am. There was a time when I was offered a seemingly lucrative job. On paper, it was perfect, great salary, high profile, and a stepping stone to even bigger opportunities. Everything rational screamed, "Take it." But my gut churned with an invisible discomfort. I couldn't shake the feeling that something wasn't quite right. Turning down that job felt insane, but I followed my instinct. Later, I learned the company had faced a massive scandal that would have certainly derailed my career. That was a pivotal moment for me. My instinct had protected me. Research supports the idea that gut instincts are more than random feelings. According to a study by the HeartMath Institute, our hearts send more signals to the brain than the other way around, especially when it comes to emotional response and decision-making. This neurological dialogue seems to send us what we often call gut feelings. Far from being mere whims, they reflect our body's way of processing information. In critical moments, our instincts often pull from a deep well of personal and observed experiences, blending intuition with logic. To truly benefit from your gut instincts, you need to cultivate a heightened state of self-awareness. I've found practices such as meditation and quiet reflection invaluable. For instance, before making significant decisions, taking a few minutes to sit quietly and breathe has helped me to clear the mental chatter and hone in on what my gut is trying to tell me. It's like tuning a radio to get a clear signal amidst the static. One practical method I've employed is the 2-minute drill. When faced with a decision, I close my eyes and give myself 2 minutes to observe how each option makes me feel physically and emotionally. If one choice brings a sense of peace or excitement, while the other leads to anxiety or discomfort, I lean towards the former. This simple technique has guided me through some of life's more complex crossroads. In the end, Trusting your gut is less about mysticism and more about understanding yourself. When you give yourself permission to trust that inner voice, you are also honoring your accumulated wisdom and experiences. It's a journey of becoming attuned to your true self and allowing that awareness to guide you confidently. As you start integrating this practice, remember, it's not about having all the answers. It's about fostering a relationship with yourself that respects and trusts your innate ability to navigate life's myriad choices. Allow yourself to lean into your instincts, and you might find that the path forward is not only clearer, but also more aligned with your true self. Chapter 14. Maintaining Mental Wellness and Balance. Prioritizing self-care and mental health. I've always believed that true strength comes from understanding one's own needs first. The world is busy, ceaseless even, and we often find ourselves running to keep pace without stopping to think if it's the right race for us. It's in these moments of constant rush that our mental well-being can take the hardest hit. Recognizing the importance of self-care is the first step towards safeguarding our mental health. One of the critical lessons I've learned is that self-care doesn't have to be extravagant. It's about finding small but significant ways to care for yourself every day. For me, mornings have become a sacred time. Instead of diving straight into emails and to-do lists, I start with 15 minutes of meditation. This simple act of mindfulness centers me, helping me gauge my inner emotional landscape and set a positive tone for the day. Studies have shown that meditation can reduce stress and increase the ability to stay focused, and I can personally attest to these benefits. But self-care goes beyond scheduled routines. It's about listening to your body and mind consistently. For instance, I've found that taking regular breaks during work to stretch or take a short walk drastically reduces my stress levels. It's backed by research. Frequent short breaks can boost productivity and reduce the feeling of burnout. And yet, it's something we often neglect to prioritize. Imagine the strain your body undergoes sitting for hours on end, not giving your muscles or your mind the respite they crave. Meanwhile, creating boundaries is another critical aspect of self-care often overlooked in today's hyper-connected world. I recall a period when I was inundated with requests and deadlines, constantly available to everyone except myself. The constant barrage left me mentally drained. By setting clear boundaries and communicating them, I reclaimed my time and restored my mental equilibrium. Unplugging from technology for a certain period each day has been transformative, giving my mind the necessary downtime from digital overstimulation. Engaging in hobbies is also a hugely effective way to nurture mental health. Whether it's reading, painting, gardening, or playing an instrument, find what brings you joy and make it a non-negotiable part of your schedule. I rediscovered my love for sketching during a particularly tough phase. Those moments with pencil and paper became my sanctuary, a creative escape where all pressures and worries melted away. Creativity, in any form, is therapeutic and can provide a deep sense of fulfillment. However, perhaps the most profound lesson in self-care comes in the guise of asking for help. Society often glorifies self-reliance to such an extent that seeking assistance is mistakenly seen as a sign of weakness. Yet, discussing your struggles with a trusted friend or professional counselor can be incredibly cathartic and enlightening. I remember reaching out to a therapist for the first time, feeling a weight lift almost instantaneously as I shared the load I had been carrying alone. Therapy offers a natural outlet and professional guidance, invaluable in navigating life's complexities. In essence, prioritizing self-care and mental health is about making conscious, informed choices that honor your well-being amid life's chaos. While the journey is deeply personal and varies for each individual, the underlying principle remains the same. You cannot pour from an empty cup. Treat self-care as essential, not optional, because when you take care of yourself, you're in a far better position to take care of everything else. Balancing work and personal well-being. When I first started my career, the concept of balance seemed like a myth. I threw myself into my work, believing that dedication was synonymous with being constantly available. I watched as my personal life slowly faded into the background, and with it, my mental and physical health. The turning point came when I experienced burnout, a sneaky intruder that creeps in unannounced, leaving you drained and desolate. It was then that I realized the critical need for balancing work and personal well-being. Creating harmony between professional responsibilities and personal life begins with setting clear boundaries. This is easier said than done, especially in an era where digital connectivity makes us reachable 24/7. However, establishing a definitive end to your workday can transform your routine. I started by turning off work-related notifications after a certain hour, preserving that time for myself and my loved ones. Initially, it felt almost rebellious, but soon I recognized the peace it brought. This simple action had ripple effects. I felt more present during my downtime, which replenished my energy for the work ahead. Mindfulness, a term often associated with meditation and reflective practices, surprisingly found its way into my daily routine. Introducing mindfulness into my life didn't require a complete lifestyle overhaul. I began by dedicating just 5 minutes each morning to breathing exercises. Later, this evolved into short meditation sessions and mindful walks during lunch breaks. These small practices grounded me, preventing stress from overwhelming my day. It's remarkable how pausing to appreciate a moment can recalibrate your mindset. Another crucial element is time management. I used to be a poster child for multitasking, juggling multiple tasks at once, convinced it was the epitome of productivity. But the truth is, multitasking diluted the quality of my work and prolonged my hours. Adopting time-blocking techniques was a game changer. By allocating specific time slots for tasks and focusing on one project at a time, my efficiency soared. This structured approach turned out to be liberating, giving me pockets of free time which I reinvested in personal pleasures like reading, cooking, and even learning new skills. Prioritizing self-care cannot be overstated. The irony is that self-care is often the first sacrifice in the pursuit of professional success. I discovered the importance of keeping my body active and mind sharp. Regular exercise, be it a morning jog or an evening yoga session, became non-negotiable. Alongside physical activity, nurturing my mind with hobbies and interests outside of work provided a creative outlet and a sense of fulfillment. Drawing from personal experiences and well-researched insights, another tip is to seek support when needed. Isolation is a silent killer. I used to think asking for help was a sign of weakness, but I learned that it's actually a strength. Whether it's leaning on family, friends, or consulting with a professional counselor, that external support can offer perspectives and solutions you hadn't considered. As these practices became ingrained in my routine, I started experiencing the harmony I once believed was unattainable. My advice is simple yet transformative. Recognize the importance of your well-being, set boundaries, practice mindfulness, manage your time efficiently, prioritize self-care, and don't hesitate to seek support. With these strategies, you can cultivate a balanced life where professional ambitions and personal well-being coexist in harmony. Creating a sustainable lifestyle for mental wellness. It all started one early morning as I sat watching the sunrise, a cup of tea warming my hands. I remembered how chaotic my mental state used to be, how anxiety and stress seemed to dominate my days. It was during one of these overwhelming episodes that I decided something needed to change. This chapter is the compilation of those discoveries, practical ways to create a balanced and healthy lifestyle supporting long-term mental wellness. First, I can't overstate the importance of daily routines. They ground us, providing a sense of stability. Imagine starting your day without any plan. It feels disjointed already, right? My mornings now follow a ritual. Waking up at the same time, a few minutes of quiet reflection, followed by light exercise. These small actions prepare my mind for the day, making me feel organized and less susceptible to stress. Start by choosing one small thing to do consistently every morning, and see how it transforms your mindset. Nutrition also plays a huge role in mental wellness. I used to skip meals or grab whatever was fast, sugary, or caffeinated. It took a toll on my mood and energy levels. Now, I focus on balanced meals with plenty of fruits, vegetables, whole grains, and lean proteins. It's not about a strict diet but rather mindful eating, choosing foods that nourish both body and mind. I noticed a significant change in my mood swings and overall energy once I started eating more consciously. Being active is another piece of the puzzle. It doesn't have to mean hitting the gym daily. I found joy in simple activities like walking, gardening, or even dancing around the living room. Regular physical activity releases endorphins, the natural mood lifters, and reduces stress hormones. Try to incorporate at least 20 to 30 minutes of activity into your day. It doesn't matter what you choose, as long as it gets you moving. Mindfulness and meditation are practices that initially seemed intimidating to me. I thought it meant sitting still for hours, trying to empty my mind of all thoughts. But mindfulness is simply about being present, fully engaging with what you're doing at the moment. Whether it's eating, walking, or even washing dishes, I practice being there in the moment, without letting my mind wander. Apps and guided meditations helped me start, and now, even a few minutes of mindful breathing can help me reset during stressful times. Social connections are crucial for mental well-being. I used to isolate myself during tough times, thinking it was better to deal with things alone. But I've learned the value of maintaining relationships, sharing experiences, and not being afraid to ask for support. Whether it's catching up with a friend over coffee or joining a community group, staying connected reduces feelings of loneliness and provides a support network when times get tough. Lastly, let's talk about rest. Quality sleep is fundamental to mental health. My struggle with sleep was real. Late nights spent scrolling through my phone, only to wake up tired and irritable. Establishing a bedtime routine, like reading a book or listening to calming music, and creating a technology-free zone in my bedroom made a huge difference. I learned that rest is as productive as action. It rejuvenates my mind and prepares me for the challenges ahead. Building a sustainable lifestyle for mental wellness isn't about overhauling everything at once. It's about making small, consistent changes and being kind to yourself in the process. The journey towards mental wellness is ongoing, full of learning and adjusting. Remember, each step you take, no matter how small, is progress. As I continue on this path, I find myself becoming more resilient, balanced, and, ultimately, happier. Chapter 15. The transformative nature of self-compassion. Cultivating kindness and compassion towards yourself. I've always found it easier to be kind to others than to myself. Growing up, I was my own worst critic, always finding flaws and shortcomings in everything I did. But one pivotal moment in my life changed that perspective. I had just started a new job and was feeling overwhelmed by the steep learning curve. One evening, as I mulled over the day's events, I realized that the stress was not solely from the workload, but from the harsh inner narrative that accompanied every mistake I made. It was then that I decided to embark on a journey of self-kindness and compassion. The first step on this journey was acknowledging the issue. Recognizing that self-criticism had become my default setting was neither easy nor pleasant. Yet, it was empowering. Self-awareness is the foundation upon which all meaningful change is built. By admitting the problem, I had already made a significant stride towards resolving it. I started by identifying the critical thoughts that frequently crossed my mind. Phrases like "I'm not good enough" or "I always mess things up" were surprisingly common and deeply ingrained. Once I was aware of these thoughts, the real work began. I knew that these negative beliefs wouldn't disappear overnight, but I could challenge them gradually. One effective practice I adopted was the concept of a loving-kindness meditation. This form of meditation involves focusing thoughts of love and compassion towards oneself and others. Initially, it felt awkward to direct positive affirmations towards myself. May I be happy, may I be healthy, may I be free from suffering, I would repeat, feeling like an imposter. With persistence, however, these words began to resonate more genuinely. Another transformative practice was journaling. Each day, I made it a habit to jot down 3 things I appreciated about myself. They didn't have to be grand accomplishments. Sometimes, it was as simple as enjoying a quiet moment with a book or cooking a meal that turned out well. This exercise shifted my focus from what I was doing wrong to what I was doing right. Over time, my self-perception began to change. I started seeing myself not just as a bundle of flaws and failures, but as a person worthy of kindness and respect. Another eye-opening discovery was that everyone struggles with self-criticism. We often look at others and think they have it all figured out, but that's rarely the case. Talking openly with friends and family about my journey revealed that many of them were fighting similar battles. This shared vulnerability deepened our relationships and created a support network where kindness and compassion were mutual. It also helped me realize that self-compassion is not about achieving perfection. It's about recognizing our shared humanity. One of the most powerful reminders of this came during a particularly challenging time at work. A project I had poured my heart into didn't meet the expected results. The old me would have spiraled into a cycle of blame and self-doubt. Instead, I took a step back and treated myself with the same kindness I would offer a friend. I acknowledged my effort and reminded myself that one project's outcome did not define my worth or capabilities. This gentle self-approach not only eased my stress, but also allowed me to reflect constructively on what could be improved. The journey towards self-kindness and compassion is ongoing. There are days when self-criticism sneaks back in, but I've learned to recognize it and address it with a kinder internal voice. The practices I've shared have been instrumental in this transformation. Remember, the goal is not to eliminate all negative thoughts. We're human, after all, but to cultivate a more balanced and compassionate internal dialogue. By fostering kindness towards ourselves, we enhance our ability to be kind to others, creating a ripple effect that can inspire and uplift those around us. Healing through self-love and acceptance. For many years, I found myself waiting for others to validate my worth. It took deep introspection and several stumbles along the way to realize that the love I sought from others was something I needed to cultivate within myself. Embracing self-love, I discovered, was a transformative journey, a path to internal healing that I didn't even know existed. I remember a specific afternoon, sitting alone in my apartment, the weight of self-criticism heavy on my shoulders. The room was silent except for my thoughts, a cacophony of doubts and insecurities. That day, I decided to take the first step towards accepting and appreciating who I am. It began with a small gesture, looking in the mirror and speaking kind words to myself. You are enough, I whispered, though it felt foreign and uncomfortable at first. One practical method that greatly helped me was creating a daily ritual of self-affirmations. Writing positive statements about myself, simple yet profound acknowledgments of my abilities, my kindness, and my resilience. Over time, these affirmations started to dissolve the negative self-talk that had long plagued my mind. It wasn't magic, but a consistent practice that required patience and perseverance. I also began to set boundaries, which was an essential part of my self-love journey. It meant saying no to things that drained my energy or compromised my values, and instead, saying yes to activities and relationships that nurtured my spirit. This was not always easy. It often felt like swimming against a strong current. But each boundary I set reinforced the message that my well-being mattered. Another crucial practice was mindfulness. Becoming more present helped me to appreciate the little moments of joy and triumph in my life. It was through mindfulness that I learned to forgive myself for past mistakes and to foster a sense of compassion towards myself. I realized that internal healing wasn't about erasing scars, but about embracing them as part of my unique journey. Incorporating regular self-care activities, like meditative walks in nature, reading uplifting books, or indulging in hobbies, helped to reinforce my commitment to self-love. These activities served as reminders that taking care of myself wasn't selfish, it was necessary. Gradually, these self-care routines became non-negotiable parts of my life, like the gentle yet constant flow of a stream that nourishes the land it touches. As I learned to love and accept myself, an incredible thing happened. The internal wounds started to heal, and I began to attract more genuine and loving relationships into my life. The more I appreciated my own worth, the more others could see and celebrate it too. This journey of self-love revealed to me an undeniable truth: that the relationship we have with ourselves sets the tone for every other relationship in our lives. In sharing this, I hope to inspire you to embark on your own self-love journey. Start small, be patient with yourself, and remember that you are deserving of your own love and kindness. The road may be challenging at times, but the reward of internal healing is a profound and lasting peace. You are worth the effort, and you have the power to transform your life from within. Embracing imperfection with grace. Have you ever found yourself staring at a tiny flaw in the mirror, unable to look away? I know I have. Growing up, the word imperfection always felt like an accusation, a mark against my value. But as I matured, I started to see things differently. Imperfections are not flaws, they're stories etched into our fabric, narrating our journeys. The Japanese art of kintsugi, where broken pottery is mended with gold, taught me an invaluable lesson. Instead of hiding the cracks, it highlights them, turning what was once damaged into something more beautiful. Seeing that reminded me of my own scars, both physical and emotional. It wasn't easy initially, but when I started viewing them as golden stitches in my life story, they began to feel less like burdens. One of my most vivid memories is failing my first major exam in college. The disappointment was overwhelming. I remember sitting on the dorm room floor, surrounded by textbooks, feeling like a failure. But that moment of imperfection forced me to reassess my methods, seek help from peers, and adopt new study strategies. By the end of the semester, my grades improved dramatically, and I realized that initial failure had set the foundation for my eventual success. Our perfectionist tendencies often stem from a desire to control, to ensure that everything unfolds flawlessly. But the reality is, life is inherently unpredictable. Embracing imperfections is about relinquishing control and welcoming the spontaneity that life offers. It's about understanding that mistakes are not the opposite of success, they're a part of it. If you're struggling to let go of perfectionism, start small. Embrace a hobby where mistakes are part of the process, like painting or improvisational dance. These activities can gently teach you to appreciate the unexpected turns and evolve with them. When you accept that perfection is an illusion, you begin to find beauty in the raw, unfiltered versions of your experiences. Moreover, surrounding yourself with people who celebrate authenticity can be transformative. Seek out friends and mentors who appreciate you for who you are, not for how closely you adhere to an ideal. They can offer much-needed perspective and remind you that your worth isn't tied to flawlessness. In a world constantly displaying curated perfection on social media, it's easy to fall into the trap of comparison. But remember, everyone's journey is unique. Celebrate your wins, no matter how small, and learn from your missteps. After all, it's through our quirks and idiosyncrasies that we truly connect with others. Authenticity, with all its imperfections, is what makes us relatable and human. As we come to the end of this chapter, I want to leave you with a reminder: being imperfect isn't just okay, it's beautiful. Embrace those golden scars and celebrate the stories they tell. Practice self-compassion, admire your growth, and know that your imperfections are what make you uniquely you. In time, you'll find that embracing imperfection with grace opens doors to a richer, more fulfilling life. Thank you for joining us on this enlightening journey through mind games, mastering your mental landscape. We hope this audiobook has provided you with valuable insights and practical tools to navigate and master the intricate dynamics of your mind. Remember, the power to transform your mental landscape lies within you, and by embracing self-awareness, emotional intelligence, and a positive mindset, you can unlock the full potential of your inner world. As you move forward, continue to apply the strategies and techniques you've learned to overcome mental barriers, foster resilience, and cultivate a mindful and empowered approach to life. Embrace the journey of self-discovery and growth, and know that every step you take brings you closer to mastering your mental landscape and achieving a more balanced and fulfilling life. Thank you for choosing Mindful Literary as your guide on this transformative path. We look forward to accompanying you on future journeys of personal growth and mental mastery. Until then, keep exploring, learning, and thriving.